This is a horror game podcast. It is meant for mature audiences. It may contain shocking revelations, violence, and sexual themes. Viewer discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Thom Raley. The scenario is the Hero Affirmed. It was written by Matthew Sanderson, who is also our keeper of arcane lore. And this is episode 1. So, without any further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. Matthew?
Right, thank you very much, Tom. So, the setting for our story is Detroit in December 2018. So that weird before time, before words like COVID, Pfizer, Moderna, and all that never graced the airwaves at all. It's a chilly day. It's Detroit and it's winter, go figure. There's snow that's been flurrying through the air. There's little clumps that are hanging on the ground. And all of our illustrious investigators here are members of the CDC that's based in Detroit, part of their quarantine station. And a quick caveat up front for those that are liking historical realism, the functions and the authority of the CDC for this scenario have been somewhat bent slightly for narrative purposes. They have wider abilities and authority for this fictional world which we live in. We'll do a quick round of introductions so that everyone can get to know all of our investigators and what role they perform at the CDC quarantine station. So just going around on my screen from clockwise. Dr. Gatt, would you like to introduce yourself and give a little bit?
Yes, I'm Dr. Stennis Gatt, and I am a biologist. I identify naughty things that are coming into the country and wonder if there's a problem. Some biological animals and plants and things can be extremely invasive, and we have to make sure, as well as diseases, we don't want those to happen either.
Very true. In fact, lots of your scanning is through cargo that comes through the airport. So yeah, plenty of opportunity to look at stuff coming into the country via air and via sea. So of course you've got coming in through the Great Lakes from the north. Next up, Dr. Pepper.
I'm a middle-aged dude with a slight stubble, and I'm the medical doctor on this team, and I will be doing the actual doctoring as opposed to all these other fake doctors. Yeah, so that's me.
Fighting talk.
No.
Right, and Dr. Lake.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ryan Lake. I'm the zoologist. I'm just here to look pretty, really. I deal with animals. I try to do less of the work and make everyone else do it. That's how I've always got by. Yeah.
Rats.
It works. Yeah, there's plenty of those around here, definitely. And,
Well, you know.
And Dr. Porter.
Hi, I'm Dr. Porter, and not everything that can kill you is a life form or biotic. So for all the other things that can kill you, that's where they bring me in. Just minerals, basically. Yeah, cyanide, you name it. Lots of ways to die. Sometimes I sit there and don't have anything to do, and sometimes I'm working away at the analytical chemistry set, sweating my brow off. Most of the time I'm relaxing, probably too much. And I am a doctor, Dr. Pepper. I earned it. Ann Arbor, I got my degree. Here, look, see? Look. Sorry.
Just don't tell them you're not too busy, because they will find more stuff for you to do.
Oh, well, I write the reports to look like I'm busy all the time.
All right, and presume it's a doctor or Mr. Daniels. Would you like to confirm?
It's just Trevor for now. Not a doctor yet. Yeah, I'm Trevor Daniels. I'm the pharmacologist here on this team. I got my MS from Emory and been working with the CDC, and I'm up here trying to work on my PhD with Wayne State. Trying to do remotely, and so getting stationed up here. But they don't have a very great work from home policy at this point. I hope that can change sometime. But paying the bills. Just trying to go along here. It's usually they ask me to identify what kinds of drugs people are smuggling up their butts and make sure that it's cocaine and not anthrax. So that's my job in a nutshell, but pays the bills.
Indeed. And last but not least, again, Dr. or Mr. Tassiv.
Just the Mr. So I am Logan Tassiv, and I graduated in my undergrad with a degree in public health from Tufts University in Boston. And I just finished an expedited postgraduate degree in forensic science through Harvard University. So here I'm on this team today because I love laboratory work involving forensics, identifying DNA, hair, all that good stuff. And I am a big true crime fan.
Good. Right, so to help set the scene a bit, here's a little bit of potted information and potted history about what Detroit was like just 5 years ago, say in December 2018. So the city suffered numerous problems in recent decades. Its population has fallen from nearly 2 million in the 1950s to less than 700,000 in 2017. The economy fell and unemployment rose, leading to many people losing their homes. By the time the city filed for bankruptcy in 2013, nearly half of the property owners had not paid property taxes. In 2014, approximately 30%, so circa 70,000, of the buildings in the city were abandoned. Many abandoned buildings are burnt out. The city reports around 5,000 arsons per year. Many buildings are burnt when fires lit by homeless people get out of control. The homeless population is over 35,000, with over half of those estimated to be of the LGBT community. Many homeless women are abuse victims. Many homeless people carry weapons, knives usually, firearms rarely. You don't need ammo to stab someone with. And they carry those for protection. They sleep in cupboards to avoid the cold. They move between abandoned properties, leaving toilets clogged with paper due to lack of water, graffiti on the walls, that kind of thing. Community services, including the NSO, the Neighbourhood Service Organisation, run shelters that provide food, showers, and a place to sleep. However, there are fewer than 2,000 beds in Detroit shelters, making them busy in winter. Outside, people risk frostbite if they're out on the streets. Prostitution is rife, taking advantage of abandoned properties, with people never using the same place twice for being risk of being followed. Discarded condoms are common. Most prostitutes are armed with knives or tasers to protect themselves from violent customers. Prostitutes have been found violently murdered in such properties. So, the date is Saturday the 15th of December 2018, and you've just about gone off shift when you receive a call from your superior, Dr. Joanne Peters, and you receive a video call that you are all invited to partake in, whether it be by a phone, by a laptop, computer at home. You all dial in and you are given the following briefing. Right. So to give you a bit more information on where sunrise and sunset occurs, sunrise is at 7:45. Actually, quick pause. What can you see on your screen? Just to make sure I've selected the right thing.
A lot of text.
In a rectangular background?
Yes.
Yes, your
right,
sunrise, sunset, Joanne Peters.
Perfect, right, because my share box is appearing over the other screen, which I don't want you to see. So, back in. So to give you a bit of idea of the climate and temperature around the time of day, sunrise sets, sunrise. The sun rises at 7:54 and sets at 5 o'clock in the evening. Temperatures reached the wonderful high of, in my units, -3 Celsius, 24 Fahrenheit for everyone else, and the low of -10 Celsius, 14 Fahrenheit. It is 7 p.m. when you are all called by Dr. Joanne Peters. She's a virologist at the CDC. and she explains the following. At 6:15 this evening, 2 men died at the NSO Tumani Center on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and 3rd Avenue. The dead men have been identified by the NSO employees there as one Rolf Abel, age 29, and Ferdy Wilkins, age 31, both homeless African Americans who frequently visit the shelter. Cause of death was unknown to the staff on duty. They'd only had rudimentary first aid training, so they can't exactly be asked to be experts here. Both have been complaining of stomach cramps leading to a short period of screams followed by convulsions and very swiftly afterwards death. They died within minutes of each other. An ambulance dispatched from Detroit Receiving Hospital, abbreviated DRH, which is 1.1 miles from the shelter, but both men were dead upon its arrival. 2 paramedics examined the bodies and reported back to DRH that a worm-like organism burst out of each corpse. Police and animal control were immediately notified. Cordons have been established around the shelter and along 1 block radius. Despite being locked in the shelter's first aid room, the worms, in inverted commas, appear to have escaped through an air vent. Animal control and police dog units are attempting to track them. To prevent any possible infection, the corpses have been removed to a second ambulance team and taken to a quarantine room at DRH for examination. The original paramedics are still at the shelter. The shelter is near capacity, which is approximately 120 people, because tonight is the annual donation of care packages to the homeless by staff and students from Wayne State University. So that's maybe people that Trevor might know. See if a luck roll was in your favour. All volunteers are still on the site, except one who's been identified as Ophelia Waters. She fled the scene before the cordon was established. Police units are tracking down Ophelia. She's not returned to her room at the Leon H. Atchison Residence Hall, which is now under surveillance, and her mobile phone is switched off. She has not attempted to contact her parents in Ann Arbor. They've been informed of the situation with police monitoring calls to them. One other CDC team has been dispatched to the shelter to determine if those present are contagious or infected. Your role is more of an investigative role rather than a clinical role here. So you're to liaise with DRH's representative there, Dr. Louisa Harrison. She's at the shelter coordinating with the police and arranging for everyone in quarantine to be taken to DRH once they've been deemed not contagious. Once at DRH, more extensive tests can be performed. Your orders are as follows. You're to work with the police, medical staff, and the homeless on site to find out as much as possible about the victims, where they're staying and their recent movements. Examine any identified sites to determine whether they need to be quarantined. Conduct an examination of the bodies at DRH to ascertain if they're infectious and to gain any insight possible about these organisms. Ascertain by capture and examination if required whether the organisms are a threat to the wider public and take all necessary steps to neutralize them if they are. If word gets out, media interest may be intense. Refer reporters to the CDC for an official statement that will be made when they're in possession of all the facts. Provide Dr. Peters with regular updates on findings and progress so that she can help make such a statement to the press if that becomes necessary. If you require any additional assistance from the CDC, you are to contact Dr. Peters directly. Any questions?
Oh, so, well, Dr. Lake, it looks like you're up to bat, huh?
I know. Yeah. Who would have thought I'd have actually been useful now?
That's great. You can go ahead and look at those worms. I'm kind of squeamish with stuff like that, so you do that, please.
Yeah, I might be of assistance. I did a paper on worms during my studying biology. Be interesting to see which phylum they're in. Worms. They sounded like they were big. I mean, there's worms, and then there's worms.
Well, yeah, it depends on the wound, how it burst out. It depends on the size of the wound, and
how fast do worms have to travel to escape? Like your average worm isn't moving that quick, right?
Some move quite quickly. Yeah,
some they move quicker than you think.
Okay,
but for the most part, they're blind, so they might be heading for the darkness if they
Well, they were
sense the
complaining
light,
of
maybe.
stomach pain. It's not uncommon for tapeworm eggs to be put into shakes
Oh.
and things like that, typically as, bootleg
Which-
weight loss supplements. But that's something else. That's like reverse guinea worm or something.
Well, if something was in there, it would have left some evidence that it would be able to use.
Sure.
Of
Now I'd be able
course.
to cross.
Time for an autopsy.
and
Can't
I'd
wait.
be able to, and I'd be able to cross-analyze it with things that I know. So
So the body should be at the Detroit Receiving Hospital. So if anyone would like to come with me to check those out, you're welcome to.
it'd probably be best. Yeah.
I'll go with you, Dr. Tassif. I one time had to
Not a doctor
pull-
yet.
He's not a
Eventually.
doctor.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Tassif. I'll go with you. One time I had to pull about a 1 foot long tapeworm out of the back of someone's knee. It wasn't a pretty sight.
That's fascinating. You have pictures?
Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Okay.
I am not allowed
That
to
is
take
quite
pictures of
fascinating. I would
patients like that.
Oh,
I would
pictures.
actually want to see that. That actually.
No.
He just
No.
says, I'm not allowed to take photos, but here are some photos of a similar event.
Okay.
You can-
no,
you
that's
can-
great.
you can-
I'm going to go check
Yeah,
it out.
that's no thank you.
You can
Doctor.
show me in the car.
And me as well. I'm all down for any.
All right, I'll
anything like
drive. Time to go to work.
Well,
Uh,
I'll head to
well-
the shelter and collect statements about where the people came from so we can backtrack their movements. Because what else am I going to do at this point?
Yeah, I'll coordinate with Louisa Harrison.
Yeah, I'll be
As
with
I-
you, Tassiv and Pepper then.
As I leave, I'm just gonna poke Daniels on the back of the neck, ooh.
Jesus Christ. I told you not to do
Hey,
that.
hey, Daniels. Just
Fuck
imagine
off.
him crawling in you.
Angrily putting my cardigan on.
Trevor, talk to HR if they keep that shit up. Don't let them push you
Oh.
around.
I wouldn't be too
Order.
worried,
Say.
Trevor. We all die and
Fucking
decompose.
doctors are all the same.
No, we're not.
Porter, why you gotta ruin the fun? We normally have some fun.
Yeah,
Maybe.
but we don't want to burn this poor kid out before he gets his chance to get anywhere. All right, just let him get along in the years.
Ugh. Okay.
So, in true investigator fashion, it sounds like you are dividing and conquering from the very first scene. So,
Divide and die.
so we can have one group that can be taken because it is a fairly major hospital. They will have a helipad there, probably on the top of the building. We can have one group that go and get helicopter dropped at the hospital, and another one that the rest of you can then be helicoptered directly to the NSO center. So, who wants to go first?
Well, autopsies are always beautiful things. So how about the NSO guys go first?
Yeah, let's get
Okay. Right. So we cut over to the NSO center, which at this point, even as you're coming in from the air, you can see that there are cordons that have been set up around the intersection. It's an L-shaped building which is set back a little bit from the main junction of the two major roads, and everything is lit up by by flashing lights of police cars, ambulances. There's a large CDC van which, as you're landing, you can see is just pulling into a section in the car park. The car park, bit of a grandiose term for it, holds about 15 spaces. There's about 6 police cars that you can see that are immediately on site, plus the van, and the rest look to be cars which are presumably members of either the NSO staff or some that have been used by the university crew that have turned up here to distribute their care packages. But running along the long length of that L shape that's within the rectangle of the car park is a short ramp that goes up towards the front door, and then there's a chain link fence which separates it from the car park itself. This seems to very much funnel anyone who comes in through a very narrow entranceway into the building itself. But you can see there are other what look to be fire exits that are dotted around the other sides of the building. So there's more than one way in and out, but it seems they definitely control the main entrance of folks getting in there. There's not that many people out and about outside, but you can see that there's a few policemen with dogs, so presumably the animal control units, which are going around the perimeter in a slowly expanding circle, looking to see if they can find any presence of animals or something out there. They probably haven't been informed of the exact nature of what's been going on, because you imagine that someone starts yelling, worm creatures burst out of somewhere.
Yeah.
Imagine that's maybe going to start causing panic. So you imagine that information is being kept to a very small group of people. But you land and then shown in by the authorities, by the local police, and greeted by a African-American lady who's in her 40s, who introduces herself as your point of contact.
Miss Harrison?
Yes, Dr. Louisa Harrison. She is not quite sticking out like a sore thumb, but she's dressed in a full hazmat suit. So she's
we're expected to gear up for this. Okay. All right.
She so she shakes hands in her somewhat inflated outfit. For purposes of keeping all players involved as well, you can all have earpieces in, which mean that you can communicate between, even though you're not all on site here, it means those that are currently off doing the autopsy or getting to DRH can still get involved in the scene if you want to throw in quips and such via the, but then it obviously depends if the other PCs want to relay information that they...
We have cell phones too that we can text.
Indeed.
Yeah,
I 100% have my earpiece muted until I get a thumbs up from Doctors Porter or Cat.
Oh yeah, because you know what'll happen otherwise. Yeah.
I know what I'm gonna hear, and I'm not here for it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll remember. All right.
She introduces herself and says, "Well, hello everyone. I'm Dr. Harrison. I understand you're the kind of investigative team that have been sent down from the CDC. Yes,
That is correct,
We
Dr.
are.
Harrison. Do you have some of the people that knew the poor victims, as it were? Some we can interview?
Yeah, we've got a couple of people that we've been able to identify that have had at least some connection with the two deceased. There's Mr. Moore, who's the director of homelessness services here, who runs the shelter. I mean, shelter's a bit of a got an abrupt term. I mean, the NSO Centre here provides a lot more than just shelter facilities. They provide things like substance abuse counselling and other services. They're not just a room full of beds. They do a lot of stuff here for outreach for the community. And Mr. Moore, I've known him for quite a while. He's been here for well over 10 years. So he knows a lot of the people come through here. So at least he knew them by sight, from what I understand. So I've got him in his office if you want to have a word with him directly. And I'm sure there must be a few of the people here that were familiar with the deceased, that were in like the queue either near them or around them, or maybe even knew them. But there's well over 100 people here. We haven't had time to question that many, but I know definitely Mr. Moore will be able to provide you with some details.
Dennis, I guess we should start there. Or do you want to go to talking to the people that are here? Well, bring us to Mr. Moore.
I don't know. You lead the way. We'll see. I'm really interested in trying to figure out what these worms are.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you say the W word, her eyes do open somewhat wide and says, "Yeah, you want to probably keep that word on the quiet." Everyone,
I'm sorry.
As far as everyone here is concerned, obviously the 100-odd homeless that are on site know that 2 people have died, and that the police got called and we showed up fairly soon after. So we've set up a kind of processing line where they're going to be going through to one of the back rooms and then out the one of the fire exits through to the van. And then once they've been tagged, they'll be put back in the main room. But up until then, we're waiting for enough people to build up, and then we can ship them off to the hospital afterwards. But we're doing basically blood tests and some on-site, the basic stuff. But it's going to take time, and there's a hell of a lot of people to process.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, amongst the homeless, amongst people whose hygiene is fairly low, there's a lot of parasitic worms.
Oh, yes. Yes, you're right. All right, if you'd like to follow me inside, I'll show you the layout of the place. coming up off the sidewalk and running along the edge of the car park, you've got the chain link fence that leads you into the main room. It's roughly square. There's lots of posters around the room with somewhat, in other circumstances, maybe somewhat garish tastes, like proclaiming words like hope and peace, and other outreach programs of other charities and organizations around the city. There's just otherwise rows upon rows of chairs where they've got arms on each of the chairs, so it tries to prevent people from just laying down on a whole row of chairs at any one time. So if they're going to be here, they sit down rather than lay down. There are cot beds which are stacked up in a corner, which presumably come out later, but this is mainly a sitting area rather than a sleeping area. There are two doors which lead off to the eastern side of the room, one which has men only above the door, the other one women only. The two rooms are fairly similar. There, again, more rows of seats and other beds around the edge of the room. There are TVs in the corner of each room that are turned down almost to the minimum volume, with a grate across, like a wire mesh across the front cover, so they can't have stuff thrown at them and break the screen. Just playing local news, and probably another one's playing an old rerun of an old sitcom that's just, say, quietly providing light in the background more than sound. Everyone here is quite sullen. There are people which are dressed up in lots of thick layers of clothing, multiple layers that they tend to stack on. There's others with raincoats battered around them, some which carry bags full of meager possessions which they hold close to themselves. Others seem to be amongst themselves holding these sort of slightly larger than shoebox packages. They're all blue, presumably the care packages which have been distributed from the university that night. They seem to be swapping all the contents out from each other. They've got things like blankets in them, batteries, some food supplies. Some of them have got what look to be packets of medicines like aspirin and other such common stuff. Things that are not exactly cheap, but not they have use out on the streets. Then there's the corridor on the eastern side leads you back to where the care packages were being distributed, and that's where the Wayne State University team are still out there. It's also where the toilets are. And the room that the CDC have appointed as their testing room, so where they're taking their blood tests from before people head out the fire escape, the fire exit rather. The western wing of the L shape is marked by a door called staff only. Right. Next to that, you've got the reception room, which is where everyone that comes along that raised ramp comes in through here. It's a way that the staff can also monitor what people bring in, that they confiscate any drugs that are on persons and also any weaponry, and then put them in plastic bins, which are then kept up on rows of shelves. Any items that are inside are then given back to the people when they leave. So it's kind of a check in your contraband, get it back when you leave. There's no one in there at the moment, so the member of staff has been moved elsewhere, but no one's also been allowed to go and get their stuff out of the bins.
Miss Moore, yep. Can we get the possessions of the two gentlemen?
Yep, they've already been pulled aside. The only thing that both of them had on them were each one had a switchblade. So they were armed for personal protection, but they're not identical blades. They're just fairly similar, but nothing else that they had on them. So no drugs, nothing that would have otherwise been confiscated.
And do we know how long that they had been in the shelter? Have they been eating the same shared meals as everyone? It'll be important to do contact tracing. It sounds like it was something they ingested. I'd be curious to get a blood sample.
Yeah, Mr. Moore can inform you of that, which once you go through into the main room, heading down that staff-only corridor, Mr. Moore's office is the first one on the left. So it's quite close just down the corridor and then take a left in there. Okay. So Moore's office is fairly cramped. There's lots of cabinets that run around the edge of the room. There's a very cluttered and overworked desk with piles of papers on each side. That he has got a chair crammed behind it and a couple of chairs in front, so he can use this as a kind of meeting room for anyone that he's providing services for, as well as other members of staff. It doesn't take anyone with any degree or ability in psychology to look at him and see that he is out of his depth. You can see that he is sweating. He is slightly shaking. His eyes are wide. He's gripping hold of the edge of the desk and just looking ahead, not kind of a 1,000-yard stare, but just trying to be calm, look professional, keep you cool, and it's not working very well at all. But when Dr. Harrison brings you into the room and does a quick introduction, he looks between you all, and there's a little flash of hope that comes to his eyes. He says, "Hi, sir. You'll be able to put all this right then, yes?"
That's the plan. Hopefully we can just nip this right in the bud. It just sounds like they may have encountered something that gave them a bit of a nasty stomach bug. And we just need to do some contact tracing, hopefully just find out a few things and get all of this wrapped up before it gets to be an issue. That's our job, right? Do you keep any records for how long these two gentlemen were here at the shelter before today?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can answer that straight off the bat. They don't stay here overnight. They only came in this evening because I imagine word is spread around the homeless population that tonight was the care package drop. But I understand they've been living somewhere off site for a while. I think you can see kind of cogs almost turning as he's trying to plumb the depths of his memory. I'm fairly sure I heard that they were staying with two other friends of theirs. So there was a group of 4 of them, and that they were somewhere nearby, but obviously within walking distance. They weren't like trekking across the city or having to take a taxi to get here. They were in walking distance. But no, they don't stay on site. But they've come in every so often over maybe I think every other day, coming in for food and then heading off. But again, nothing out of the ordinary or previous break-in regular behavior up until tonight.
When they first come in, do they have to register? Do they give an address?
No, in lots of cases, the homeless tend to move around lots. Yeah. So they could give an address one day and then it would be different the next. So there's very little point us asking.
Maybe some of the other people might know where they hang out.
It's possible. Yeah.
Mr. Moore, do you know the names of the other 2 individuals? You said there was a little group.
Yeah, I mean they all worked. From what I remember, the group of them all worked, I think, in a machine shop. I think it's about 3 years ago the place closed down, and they all ended up losing their jobs and losing their homes in quick succession. So they banded together. The other two individuals, he quickly sort of flicks through a set of papers on his desk to see where he's got some notes written down quickly. Yeah, Anthony Webb and Tim Phelps. Those are the other two gentlemen that they were staying together with. They almost always came in as a group, but tonight it was just the two that had come in.
So Mr. Webb and Mr. Phelps aren't here today, then? No,
I haven't seen them.
I see, and we don't know where their shared accommodation was. Just that it's within easy walking distance.
I wonder how far away that machine shop was then. I mean, surely they would know any place better.
I think the machine shop used to be on the north side of town, but like I said, it closed down like 4 years ago. So it's one of the many business casualties of the city. It's a common story I've heard so many times over from folks here.
Do you have anything else in your records of the 4 that might be of use?
He starts having a flick through his paperwork. No drug troubles. No, honestly, just victims of bad luck and bad circumstance. Life dealt them a shitty hand.
No drug troubles. Alcohol?
No, well, nothing. Let's say no hard drug problems, but also no alcohol problems. So they weren't alcoholics, they weren't addicts, they weren't coming in for AA meetings or anything like that.
That seems, I guess it's possible.
It's rare, but not rare. It's uncommon, but not unheard of.
Sometimes people just fall through the cracks, and those cracks are abysses. It's hard to get back on your feet again.
But yeah, you usually self-medicate, or you do something to alleviate the horror.
Oh, he points towards the cabinets around you. I could give you hundreds of names that fit that story straight off the bat.
Yeah. So, anybody read Sherlock Holmes? How are we going to figure out, how are we going to deduce where they were? Because my guess is the other two might be also infected if it was something they ate.
Yeah. Or even in close contact with each other, parasites can travel.
Sure. Yeah, depends on the parasite.
What it is. I mean, ideally, if we knew anyone else here at the shelter, might know where these people were staying, although they probably moved around.
Possibly.
Where exactly did they die?
They started screaming and they were convulsing while they were waiting in line to go to the room on the other side of the building where we've got the Wayne State care packages being given out. But they were taken away to basically our infirmary just down the corridor from here. And he kind of shakily points towards one of the doors out in the corridor and just says, just through there. And that's where the screams stop.
Okay. We'll have to take a look there.
The two paramedics are a couple of doors down. I understand, because they've not left the site. They're pretty shaken up.
Have they haven't cleaned it up or anything?
But they just shut the door and then waited for you guys to turn up.
Okay. Good. Maybe they'll get some samples.
Yeah, there should be residue. My guess is if there's some sort of an internal parasite. I'm always saying this low, so
yeah.
If there's some sort of internal parasite, then it needed warmth and moisture inside the body. So how long would it survive outside the body? It would probably, I mean, you've seen worms after a thunderstorm or rainstorm, they dry up on the sidewalk because they suddenly don't have moisture anymore. So there definitely should be some residue.
Well, I'm not the zoologist, but I mean, things have a life cycle. If they're going to burst out of the body, it means they're probably moving on to the next stage. Maybe they went somewhere to lay eggs or something.
If they're anything like any worm, they're going to try to find some sort of body of water or something to lay eggs to reproduce. It's if they weren't here to share meals or have an extended close contact, it could potentially be spread by fecal contamination and just not washing your hands, touching things. People touch eyes, stuff like that can help transmit.
Yeah. And some parasites have very complicated life cycles. Your dog gets worms, and the worms fall into the bedding of the dog, and they infect fleas, and the fleas gestate the new worm, and they get accidentally eaten by the dogs, and the cycle's really bizarre.
Cycle of life, yes. Well, Mr. Moore, you've been very helpful. We may have some more questions for you later, but I think we're going to examine the site. That's okay.
Yeah, by all means, I'll just stay here and be here if you need me. He returns to gripping the edge of his desk in an effort to try and maintain focus.
Oh boy. All right, we'll head down the corridor to where Trevor, do you want to talk to the paramedics, and I'll see if I can pick up samples from the where everything kind of went crazy? Would that be easier, or would you prefer to pick up samples and I'll talk to the paramedics?
Oh no, I was going to suggest the same thing. If you could please just get blood samples and do some preliminary runs to make sure anything's out of the ordinary. I am going to get the hell away from all of this down the hall and try to help with coordination and response. Maybe see if I see any familiar faces from Wayne State down there.
Okay.
All right. So before we jump over to the autopsy, just as you're about to open up the door into the scene of the crime itself, Trevor, would you like to give me a luck roll to see if you do know anyone from Wayne State that's here?
Sure thing. That is a 91. I spent all of my time reading and not socializing.
That, and also that it seems like the members of staff, or rather the one member of staff that is here, works in a department that you almost certainly would never have cross paths with. So, yeah, makes sense.
They work
why
in
you
gross
would
anatomy.
Yeah, I was like, you don't even know the face. So even when she introduces herself, you have no idea who the hell she is. But yeah, you can certainly go down the corridor and start to talk with the Wayne State folks there. We'll cut back to that in a sec. For those of you over at DRH, so you've come into land. You're met by the authorities there, staff wearing plenty of white coats and quarantine attire. Not quite full-blown hazmat suits here, but they are definitely kitted up. And you are taken down to the quarantine room.
I would love those hazmat suits, by the way.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah, I mean, they can definitely get you full-blown hazmat suits if you want
we're doing
to have
it.
them before you examine the bodies. That is not a problem.
Hazmat suits interfere with my dexterity. I'll go commando.
Okay.
Seth, like a true doctor.
You know, Dr. Lake.
Dr. Pepper. No, I have to insist. We can't let you in there without.
I can wear something over my face, but my hands have to be free.
You can still be
so excited for this, Dr. Lake. You ever have a calling in life?
Yeah, oh God.
Exactly. Anyway, I already fulfilled my lifelong dream of getting off of a helicopter onto a roof.
At least there's not an explosion behind us.
This is not a Michael Bay production. You don't have to worry about that.
Well, not
I can't wait to start cutting into this body. These bodies. There's quite a bounty.
Earpiece is going out.
And we can do and we'll do on-site. I'll do on-site tests as well, because quicker we get through it. We need dirt samples. If the bodies have any dirt, which I assume they will.
So, Dr. Lake and Logan, you're provided with hazmat suits if you want them. So you've then got the tube that goes up the back, which connects up to the air supply from the ceiling. So you just have a series of like that's what I'm looking for, like paths, like racks in the ceiling that kind of dictate whereabouts in the room you can move to. So you can't just like run across from one corner to the other. It's a case of right, no, go down to this junction, then pull it across, and then move across, and so on.
Very cool.
Whereas Dr. Pepper, you are going in pretty much with a respirator over your face, because the one thing they will say is you still got that won't interfere with your dexterity, but otherwise you are covered up in lots of plastic PPE, kind of almost somewhere between surgical scrubs and a morgue attendant's clothing attire, but still enough that will protect things like there's no visibly open skin, so there's going to be no worry about skin or any fluids getting on you having any effect. But it still means you definitely have your fingers and hands ready to do whatever nimble work you need to do. Now, once you get through almost like the first airlock, it's a fairly big, heavy steel door, gets you through into the next one, which then leads you through into the room where there are a series of 4 effectively morgue tables that have been put aside, only 2 of which obviously have bodies on the minute, the 2 that Rolf and 30 that were brought in. So both of them have been stripped naked so that you can see them rather than having to fight through clothing. Their clothing is in 2 separate boxes, which are again on the edge of the room. It's very obvious what's happened to them, that there is a 4-inch diameter hole which has come out of their abdomen, and the interior of their chest cavity has sunk down, with a couple of, even just rudimentary looking at the body, before you even have to worry about probing it, it looks like they've been hollowed out from the inside. All internal organs have been removed, whether that been eaten or whatever, they're not there now. There is then this 4-inch wide circular hole that is evidently a burst out rather than something having gone in. There's no signs of any entrance wound. Well, you definitely notice a 4-inch hole if something had gone straight in and then come back out. So whatever was in there had presumably grown from the inside to become this size before it got out.
Wow, this is just exquisite.
This is intriguing indeed. Yeah, we're gonna have to take a lot of samples. Yeah.
I would
but
like
there's-
the names of the ambulance crew just in case.
Yeah.
Yep. The staff at DRH, because you'll also be hooked into them, so you can so they can hear any requests you've got. Can perk up over the intercom and provide you with names. That'll be Lorenzo Newman and Jacqueline Walsh, who were the paramedics that were sent on scene. They're still at the NSO center.
Okay. Get them into quarantine.
Yes.
Just in case,
definitely.
until we are able to identify what this is.
Yeah, Tassev and Pepper, I'm gonna definitely need blood samples for to check for flukes. And then we need, well, I was gonna say we need to check the intestines, but I don't think there's any in there.
I mean, we can take a peek. I can show you with
But
pleasure.
there might be some tissue left. There's probably some evidence of them there, so we need some of that. We also need any dirt and fingernails and that, because I need to check.
Yes.
As worms like to be soil transmitted, so it'd be...
Yeah, worms can travel all throughout the body. I wonder where they entered. I'm gonna first, before I look at the bodies, I'm gonna look at the clothing, and in particular, I'm gonna look at the shoes to see if they're in good shape or in bad shape.
Fairly poor. Not to the point where the soles are coming away from the rest of the upper material, but they've been well worn, probably a couple of holes in them as well. They were wearing multiple layers of clothing, so they'd stocked up on most things like old discarded sports clothing. So lots of jogging bottoms and tracksuit bottoms that they layered over the top of each other, and then old beaten up like wax raincoats that they had over the top of everything, so it tried to keep them dry while they were warm as well. Lots of normal grime, absolutely reeks of body odor, sweat, but otherwise nothing that immediately gives you any hint of anything out of the ordinary.
So I would personally doubt that they got the infection through the foot, because that's a common way tapeworms enter the body.
Yeah, you can definitely have a look at the soles of the feet and, in fact, the whole of the foot, and it doesn't look like there's any entrance wound or any hole or anything of that nature there whatsoever. So no, you can definitely rule out the feet as being the entry point. Now, either Dr. Lake or Logan, you mentioned specifically about wanting to have a look at the intestines, or rather the lack thereof. You can give me a spot hidden roll.
Good thing I have skills to set. Right?
Yeah, I think I might do as well, because it'll come in handy.
I'll put mine at 50.
I will also put mine at 50.
Always a good skill to have.
Oh, I'm such a trendsetter.
31 out of 50. So
I failed. 85.
Okay. Well,
I got you.
Logan's probably distracted by the fact that, yeah, that the inside of the body is just this hollow mass. There's just the occasional remnants of bits of bone. Even then, some of the rib cage is gone. You can see there are just chunks that have been taken out of where the bones should be. There's just flesh, the outer skin, and some remnants of muscle near the outer layer of skin that's remained. Otherwise, all the juicy bits, all the organs on the inside, they're just gone. It's like someone has hollowed out this body as almost like a piñata. It's just they've gorged themselves on the interior and then popped straight out the front.
Are you saying that over where we can all hear?
I will keep mine on, mainly just in the hope that Daniel has accidentally turned.
That if I can interrupt, that doesn't sound like a worm. That sounds like a fish, like an eel or a hagfish. They
Yeah.
tend to eat into dead animals and just start ripping them out from the inside. Leave a husk.
Yeah, I would find it unlikely that any parasite that's likely to survive through evolution would kill its host. That's kind of contradictory
I
to
don't
the
think
whole
worms
idea.
have teeth. So
Well,
Can you
worms
gentlemen
can eat stuff.
make an estimate as to the size of the creature based on what it consumed and how big the exit hole is?
it's
Is there
a
anything?
4-inch hole.
4-inch hole, so you're looking at a rather large.
How
That's a
long do you
snake.
think? Yeah.
But we don't know. Well, we might be able to tell based on when we actually look into it how it probably grew in. So it's
Well,
probably
that's just it.
so that's tiny.
If before it left, it took up the entire chest cavity of the
Yeah.
deceased, and then it left, that gives you some sense of the general mass of it. So what are we
Yeah.
looking at lengthwise based on that diameter?
One of the most common things about like large hagfish is they're extremely slimy. So
Mhm.
if you find a lot of slime, then somehow they got probably a hagfish.
Well,
It's a disgusting animal.
when you guys are examining the scene,
Mhm.
take samples of any. Do you find any dirt, slime, blood, anything, any fluid of any kind?
I
Well,
think it's time for me to get to work, so I'm going to turn off my radio so I can concentrate.
Mhm.
Okay. It's specifically then, as you're talking about fluids, that Dr. Lake, your attention is brought down to one of the few remaining bits of the interior that's left, and that's the anal cavity. It doesn't look as though much matter passed through here, but there are remnants of fecal matter that was left dormant down here. Roll me a d3.
Okay. That is 2.
That's when you spot two things moving in the cavity.
Oh boy.
Tassive, pepper.
Yes.
Right. I'm gonna take a sample and quarantine the shit out of that sample.
Yeah, you could get a petri dish.
Really funny.
You can get a petri dish and putting them in there without any difficulty. It does require the use of tweezers because these things that are moving around here, they are only a few millimeters long at best.
Yeah.
So it's probably actually more likely Dr. Pepper would be able to be the one that would be more dexterous to be able to get them in and pull them out and drop them into a dish. But even in the hazmat suit, it's possible. It's just probably a bit frustrating. You're just trying to go, missed, missed again.
I'm used to doing this. She's not in a hazmat suit, so Pepper, can you grab that sample, and then I will examine it whilst Tassev is performing
It's like
his examination.
All right. So, Tassa, would you like to give me a forensics roll to give me?
I'd love to, with the utmost care and respect.
To give you an indication of what exactly happened in here.
Hey, that is a failure. I'm going to spend 19 to make it a pass.
Oh, someone's preserving.
Oh, actually, could I push?
I'd say yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, I'm going to push it.
You might be leaping to some assumptions if you fail, but
Fine by me. I'm an expert. I'm never wrong. Never.
Well, we know who the loose cannons are of this group.
94.
Okay, yeah, well, you're reaching some definite conclusions here. That I mean, there's obviously no external signs of like forced entry, so therefore it had to be something they ate because it's already been mentioned about the.
Yeah. I'll turn on my radio. You guys ever watch Alien?
Yeah, it was noodles. They were all sat around a table and. Although quoting another horror film, man is the warmest place to hide. So maybe that's why they were stuck in here for so long.
So yes, I will give this information with the confidence of someone who thinks that they're right.
I'm going to intelligence check, just so that we're keeping on track. Because if we're going to believe him, we're going to end up down a hole that we don't want to go to.
Oh, I don't trust anybody who's not a doctor.
52 out. 52 out of 80. So
Maybe
intelligence is my highest. So.
Maybe there's some jumps that are being made here and some maybe extrapolations.
Well,
and
if you're going to
some
call me out on it,
leaps.
why don't you do the forensics?
Well,
why don't you try
I'm-
doing an autopsy?
Well, I'm looking at the shit right now. And then I might come and do your job because clearly you jump into some wrong conclusions. Maybe just get Pepper to also have a look so you got two people.
I went to
doing the work.
Harvard, Dr. Lake.
Oh, boy.
Oh, look at me. I went to a prestigious
I am
college.
sure I'm right. I'm willing to bet money on it.
Oh, willing to bet money on it. Okay. Let me just check this shit and then I will make a bet with you.
I want to do a medical examination on the body, and I'm particularly looking for if the body was if the body was like somewhat deprived of fluids, or if it looks like the person was maybe hungry or starving or something.
Perfect. Yep, you can definitely give me a medicine roll for that.
All right. 94. I'm also gonna push it. I'll push it because I have 70 in medicine. So I'm gonna take my prophylactics off because I'm really getting in there.
You're
We're
gonna raw
professionals.
dog this autopsy.
And that's a 12.
All right. So
See, always
as
go
you said,
commando.
the gloves were getting in the way.
Yeah.
Right. You are onto something here, that there is definitely signs that the bodies look very much like, or what's left of them, look very much like what you'd expect a victim of a tapeworm infestation to look like. So you imagine that at various points that they would have experienced things like stomach pains, diarrhea, sudden weight loss. There's certainly evidence of that because you can see stretch marks in the skin around the midsection. There's even kind of loose skin hanging off their underarms as well, where they've suddenly lost weight. You imagine they probably would have suffered headaches, fatigue, loss of appetite, nausea, vomiting, although there's nothing really left there's no stomach to check. But there is the esophagus where you can, even if you just got down in there and had a good whiff and smell what's in there, yeah, they'd almost certainly vomited at some point in the relatively recent time before they died, that they had vomited. So yeah, there's definitely signs there. There is also evidence of jaundice, so the skin has this yellowy tint to it as well. And probably when blood tests come back, they would confirm there are signs of anemia too. So yeah, very much like a tapeworm infestation. So this thing would have been sat inside them, presumably in the intestinal tract, sucking up all of the nutrients that came into the body, depriving the host. And if they had then either procreated or somehow not laid eggs, because these are things which are moving around, so they're not eggs, they are physically not fully grown, but they're definitely moving around of their own volition. These things could have been maybe excreted out of the rear and then gone to feed in the remnants of the intestinal tract that remained. But yeah, obviously these things are so small, but the things that grew out of them, maybe like grains of rice in size, but whatever obviously grew out of them was much, 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 much bigger.
These puppies did a real number on this bad boy.
Porter and Gat, you can hear because I have kept my thing on. So,
Dr. Lake, asking out of my field, of course. It sounds like you might have a description of what people suffering from this look like, so we can pass it along to get a visual take on what sufferers might look like. You said jaundice, anemia, things like that.
You would know. These people would look sicker than a dog.
Okay.
I would also make sure to quarantine their bathrooms.
Right. So it spreads possibly through waste contamination.
Yes.
I was just wondering, you said the entire chest cavity was emptied. Is there this? I can't imagine how this would work, but is there any chance this creature somehow subsumed the functioning of those higher organs? Or did they just leave them for the last bite? I mean, how could that have worked?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
Well,
ridiculous.
how could that
So
have
kind
worked?
of science fiction is
we
They must
don't
have-
don't know. We could theorize, but we don't know. I'm gonna test for shit. I'm also gonna take a sample of the dirt. If there's any dirt in their fingernails or toenails, which I assume there would be because of their status, I'm gonna take multiple samples. I'm gonna test the shitty worms and the dirt. We do also need to test blood for flukes as well, because then that can back up our.
It's also possible the large exit wound was multiple worms that burst out at the same time.
I don't know about that. Let's compare the two holes in each body, and if they're vaguely similar, that's probably disproved.
That they are very similar. They are almost the same. They're almost identical widths.
I'm going to contact Dr. Daniels to give them the balderized version of that. So yes, it was waste is one of the ways it works, and a description of what sufferers would look like, so they have something to work from. But I'll skip a lot of the other nasty details.
Yeah. My assumption would be that the worm grew off of the bodily fluids of this poor bastard until it eventually killed him by being too big within his chest cavity, and then just ate him.
If you've got a sample of one of the small worms, we can maybe identify what it is.
Well, I am about to do some tests on these.
All right.
Right, having a look at your two little friends in the petri dish, you can give me either medicine or science biology, or in your also science zoology as well.
I have my zoology, so obviously I will use my speciality because it'd be pointless not to.
That's what you're here for.
That was 68 out of 70. That was very close to.
Okay. Roll me a d3.
Okay. 2.
Okay, this will probably take you a couple of hours, so this is going to be some fairly extensive testing. But you can at least get this. This will be not just a case of looking at them, but also potentially trying to dissect one of them. This will be under a microscope because they are so small.
Of course,
but getting a real detailed list of everything that you can about them, and also potentially looking at things like weaknesses to various stimuli and other substances that you throw at it. But your opening salvo, as such, the things that you notice, they are indeed worm-like. They do writhe. They have a kind of rugose skin, and the thing that maybe freaks you out slightly is that the head, it opens up like a flower. It has 4 distinct flaps that open, and there are things that almost look like very proto-needle-like teeth that line each of the flaps. This is not a creature that you have seen before. In fact, this looks like something out of someone's nightmare. You can give me a sanity roll.
Of course, this is disturbingly fascinating, but depending on my sanity roll is depending on if that stays disturbing.
Does he perhaps share photographs?
I probably won't until after I've done my examination, just because Orion, even when he doesn't work, even though he doesn't do a lot of work, when he does, he gets head on into it because he'll test the dirt as well. I got 21, which is a success because I have 50.
Okay, so your fascination is not countered by revulsion here, so it's 0 on a pass.
Okay.
But yeah, these things are definitely, as far as you're aware, completely hitherto unknown to science. This is just completely against anything land-based creature that you're familiar with, or even aquatic. The closest, as actually Dr. Gatz already suggested, is that it even maybe look like a lamprey, perhaps.
Yes.
But they don't have so much flaps. They're more circular suckers that they attach with, and then have rows of teeth going around a hole. This is completely different to anything that you're familiar with. We'll get back to your list of things that you find in a little while, so we'll give the other team some time to go over stuff. But you do get some initial preliminary stuff from going things like under the dirt and such under the fingernails. Obviously, plenty of dirt, just like regular soil, but there's also signs that there's like brick dust in there as well, which implies maybe a building site that they've been fairly near before as well. There's also a couple of wood chips or like splinters that they find under the nails as well. Not that would have caused any harm to them, but just where it's like little flakes of old wood, like really old wood. So the property that they're staying in is almost certainly a very old property. It's not like lots of the districts around here, the buildings are probably about 100 years old, but this is probably something older than that.
The old property near a building site is what or on a building site is probably what we're looking for.
You're fairly good. That would be a good astute observation. Yes.
Well, it'd be a big help.
Yeah, I'll be even throughout my mumbling, so you probably have to like turn the thing off because I mumble throughout my entire examination, so you'll get bored of me.
All right. So then we've got, say, Lake's taking care of the your two little friends. Pepper and Logan, what do you want to do with the other bodies?
So were we able to just get all we could get from the autopsy?
Yeah, what kind of things are you looking for?
Well, I'm looking for any other injuries besides the obvious one.
Yeah, if you can have a good, thorough look around the rest of the body, you do not find any entrance wounds at all, which implies that the only way they could potentially have got through into the body would have been through one of the large open orifices. So either it went up the rear or it went down the throat. It maybe have gone in through the nose potentially, but it's not made any obvious burrowing or entrance from the outside otherwise. This thing definitely got in through an orifice.
How about the brain?
Yeah.
Any signs of abnormalities in the brain?
Yeah, actually, there may be something you could find there. Give me another medicine roll, or medicine or forensics.
All right, I'll roll the forensics. I swapped out the dice. It's gonna go perfectly. 63. Pass.
Yeah, perfect plan. Yeah, there's definitely. Do you take a few small biopsies and start running them through to see if there's any odd chemical imbalance? Structurally, there isn't anything different there. It's not like the brain's rotted or it's constricted inside the skull. But you do find there is something in the fluid within the brain that is definitely not supposed to be there.
And that's for both bodies. So it's
for both bodies, yes. Yeah. And that while Dr. Lake is performing his experiments, that you can start performing a breakdown of what these things are. The closest that you can get that this material is this fluid is some kind of mutagen. That there was something actively inside these bodies which was, or at least had the potential, if it had been in there long enough, to start mutating the body on a almost cellular level. Again, this is completely outside of any sphere that you are familiar with. This is unheard of in nature.
It's a discovery of a lifetime.
Nobel Prize, here you come.
I will let everyone know that something has been, that the parasites that have been residing within the bodies of these victims, they've been altering their genetic makeup.
Starting to sound more and more like your alien from the movie.
I will definitely pass it on to Daniels because that's just, my brain is hurting.
I don't know if that's sanity shattering or not, because are there animals that do something like that? I don't know.
There are certain parasites which can certainly warp and distort the hosts. I mean, there is the classic zombie bug.
But they don't change the gene structure.
They don't change the genes. They just take over the brain. I'm
what does that even?
Let's get a sample.
Okay, I'm making this.
Don't get that shit on you.
I'm in a hazmat suit. I think Dr. Pepper should be worried.
I think that the only possible explanation for this, Dr. Tassif, is some sort of biological weapon. With the recent invention of things like CRISPR, it's not irrational that a genetically modified creature could modify the DNA of its host. It would just need time to evolve that, and it would be impossible to do that outside of a lab.
Oh, well, you just mentioned like terrorism. If you could invent perhaps a bacteria or a virus that would genetically alter.
But worms higher up the
That
evolutionary
don't.
chain, though. I don't think anyone
Well,
can
this
make
is-
worms to do that.
This is
But
very common.
what if somehow you use a virus or a bacteria to alter the person's DNA, which then passes that on to the tapeworm, and the tapeworm's DNA is altered in the same process. This is science fiction as far as I'm concerned, but that would maybe work.
While I'm dabbling in my, theoretically, that is plausible.
Well, Dr. Gatt, I've certainly heard of viruses being introduced to even to humans, and certainly to animals and plants that modify their genetic code. Bacteria have been modified by viruses to produce hormones like insulin and stuff like that.
And if you were an evil scientist, like in the movies or the TV,
Which we all are.
The homeless people are the easiest victims to use because they're alive, they're there, nobody cares about them.
Especially when there's so many of them as test subjects.
Yeah,
Sad,
this would be like testing
sad
central.
reality is not many people will miss them. Sad reality, but we need to keep this science-based for now. I know what we're seeing is extraordinary, but we need to keep us in the realm of science at the minute, and we can keep it in the realm of theoretical science, and then we can get into even crazier stuff if it comes to it.
So making sure that you're firmly doffing your black hats with skulls on them and being more bad guys than the actual bad guys in this scenario. Dr. Pepper, what do you want to do with your time here?
I want to examine, since this mutagen has been brought up, if there have been any mutations. So I'm going to do an examination of the cells of this guy.
Yeah, you start having a look at the real low level, or the lowest level. There are minor changes which have taken place. Give me medicine will be the best result for this, to try and do an extrapolation of how long you think this would have taken to show what kind of effects it might display.
All right, regular pass.
Okay. You think that definitely there is more evidence of the mutagen having had an effect on the epidermis. So the skin is the first thing that you think would have shown change. And yeah, there are a couple of places, maybe around the wrists and maybe running up the forearms, where the skin has become this kind of rugose, kind of ridged or ribbed kind of appearance. Maybe at first thought you looked at it and thought, oh, it's just the excess skin from where they've had this rapid weight loss. But no, there's definitely this kind of leathery kind of hide that's now that you're looking at under a different lens. That they have outwardly they were starting to have the very first signs of some kind of physical change, but it was very subtle. You think it must take weeks before anything really visible would have started to happen. So they would have had to have had the host in this thing inside them as hosts for a long time.
Interesting, but it leaves the question, why modify someone if you're not modifying them enough to benefit you biologically? Again, it seems like the weapon explanation is the only one that makes sense.
And why eat them if the change hasn't happened completely?
Yeah.
Again, something doesn't add up here. On those few more questions than answers, we'll skip over to the group about to open the door going into the scene of the crime. So, who's opening the door?
I'll open the door. And I'll explain to Dr. Gatt what I'm going to do is I want to actually have the light off, and I'm going to run a UV light around the room to see if we can more easily spot biological samples with it. They'll make them stand out, and then turn the light back on. You can collect them, and I'll try to help you.
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
Well, it does not require a spot hidden roll or anything to notice the fact that when you go in the room with your UV light, everything glows. You can give me a spot hidden, not spot hidden. You can give me a sanity roll for the fact the room is covered in blood.
Oh my god. Nope. What do I lose?
On a fail, it's 1d4.
On a pass.
Not what I signed up for.
Pass is 1.
3. Oh, that's delightful.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is fairly gruesome. There's evidently sign that there were struggles that took place in here. These two poor individuals that were in here, they were dead when they were brought in, but whatever came out of them thrashed so much, it spewed blood everywhere. It's like a Jason Pollock artwork all over the walls, the ceiling, the floor, everywhere. And the blood that's poured out of them, think of all these bodies have been, that they're almost like balloons that were at least had some degree of blood left in them that then just sploshed all over the floor, leaving a lovely pool that shows all of the squiggles, the squirming, and the serpentine movements of these creatures as they came out and then started to move around the room. You can get impressions of the fact that what came out of these people were at least 4 feet long.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Any egress to this room other than the door?
Well, we can follow the trails.
Yeah, the trails give it away where they've gone.
Well, I'm just asking, there's no way out, right? Or
well, there's no doors out of here. There is a window. The window's shut. And immediately beneath the window, there is a small air vent. And the air vent has got a large 4-inch hole that has been punched straight through it.
Is it a metal?
It's metal.
Jesus Christ.
Matt, just one thing I'm trying to get a sense of here. Like, so these worms spewed a bunch of stuff. Were they basically kind of siphoning and vomiting the contents of the bellies of the victims? Is that what they were doing?
It's the liquid that's been left inside the body that they've just spewed when they've come out. It's almost think of the
that was just a natural
like
pressure thing that threw it across the space. Okay.
Yeah. They haven't excreted anything. But you can notice that there are a couple of points where this was a regular, like an infirmary, a regular sick bay. There's a couple of metal cabinets where there's some large, almost like bite marks have been taken out of the side of them. You can see sections of the floor that look as though something has taken a chunk out of the lino flooring.
They didn't know how to get out. They were
Does it look like they were kind of exploring the room and the pattern until they found a way to escape? And they were just biting until they got something?
More that the angles at which the things like the edge of the cabinet have been attacked, it's almost a case of like a baby probing something that it's, can I bite this? Can I eat this?
Yeah, like a shark or something. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sending a picture to the forensics guys, but not Daniels. I'll take a picture and send them along.
Is there any indication that the things could actually climb? Or
they can certainly slither. I mean, the air vent is only about 2 feet off the floor. So these things being about 4 feet long could easily have just reared themselves up and then tried to go through the vent. They've definitely got through the interior part of the vent. Give me a spot hidden roll.
I'm going to follow in the Logan path and put 50.
Kind of hard.
Okay.
Okay, you're good.
Yeah, you also remember from having come in, because you remember walking past that air vent on the other side, on the exterior, not broken on the outside. When you bend down and have a look at this thing, and you can't see light coming in from the other side. But what you can see, and you don't probe around, it's not like you're crazy enough to put your hand in and start feeling around, but you do have a look at it from various different angles. And when you look at it from a fairly sharp angle from above, you can see that there is a hole that goes straight through the brickwork going down. This thing got to the air vent. You think, with a hard success, you think it probably recoiled away from the cold it could feel from the outside, and then burrowed straight down through the brickwork.
This
thing
place
can
has a
eat
basement.
brick. It does.
This place has a
yes.
basement. Okay,
Um,
doctor, we need to go and check.
well, let's make sure on this. Is there anything sharp in here, like a what do you call it, a box
There'll be
cutter
scalpels.
or a scalpel? They're probably pretty flimsy. Well, for the sake, we'll say I grab a scalpel and I'll go up to the wall, which is probably, at least on this side, probably drywall,
Yep.
and I will, cut a hole where they went through the vent and pull the whole thing out so we can see that they
Mhm.
went down.
Definitely. You have a lovely cross section of their burrowing hole goes straight down and towards the basement.
Should we bring the
Go check
dogs
the
in?
basement.
Should we bring the
No.
dogs into this? Just us?
We don't want the dogs to become another vector.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
We don't know what this is.
Okay, these things can bite through metal. We need something to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
Me-
going to sound weird. Can we ask for a riot shield from somebody?
Well,
I
there
think
are
you can
six
get probably a
police cars
fire
outside.
axe. There's
Mhm.
probably a fire axe next to the fire extinguishers.
There will be.
I'll grab the fire axe.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Trevor, you've gone down the other side of the building, and completely spared of that lovely sight in the infirmary.
Yeah, this is just
go
a
ahead.
tapeworm infection. Like, easy peasy. We're just going to get this resolved. Ignorance is bliss, baby.
Take a few pills, it'll be fine in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so down the other end, you've got the main CDC, which is where Dr. Harrison, she's doing a lot of the coordinating from there, making sure that the queue of people come from the main room down that corridor, then up towards where the room beyond where the care package was being distributed. People are being taken in one at a time, so they're not crowding folks in there. Basically offering, please give us an arm. They extract some blood. People are also going down the line and offering plenty of water to hydrate them, which will make it easier for blood samples to be taken. And they seem to be following quite a regimented, quite a mechanical process. It very much seems like a conveyor belt at this point, of one person in, suck, next. They then obviously are fed out, and standard process is being followed before they're brought back into the main room with a red wristband around their wrist that says that they have been at least preliminarily tested, so they can then be identified and moved out when there's going to be a series of minibuses that carry them up to the hospital. At this point, they'll basically be doing like another conveyor belt of runs from here to the hospital. As you pass by the room with the care packages in them, you can see that's where pretty much the university staff who have already been checked over, and also the professor that's with them. She's a lady in her probably early 50s, you think? Again, definitely has that kind of bearing as being that she is a scientist, or at least a doctor or professor of some kind with the university. And that she seems to be trying to keep everyone calm and taking charge. But these are they're not teenagers, they're kids in their early 20s. Some of them are trying to get on their phones and
I was
trying
going to ask, do they look like they're
occupy themselves.
undergrads? I empathize deeply with it's worse than herding cats, because they think they know what they're doing.
But these are indeed all undergrads. No one here is postgrad.
I feel a slight tug at the old heartstrings, and I'll go in to just try and give a little bit of guidance, and just like, hi there, Daniels. I'm here with the CDC. Do you need any help with anything? It looks kind of like you got a little science project going on down here.
I wish. No, yeah, she kind of flicks her hair out of her eyes and extends a hand. Professor Hackett, Eleanor Hackett.
Dr. Hackett, it's really glad that you're here doing, giving these care packages from Wayne State and everything. How has everyone been doing with it? Are you having any issues with coordination? Are people starting to get irritated around here? I know it's a tight and close space with lots of folks.
Yeah, no, thankfully people have been quite good about all this. There's concern amongst some of the kids here. There's I think the hardest thing is mainly trying to keep them off their damn phones, but so they've been informed not to make any outgoing calls, not to post anything on social media. But they, as far as I can tell, they're all keeping to that.
Would you want a little bit of assistance with that? Nothing motivates undergrads more than fecal contamination. I think I may be able to get a little bit of help here. And at this point, I stop stooping and stretch to my actual full height of 6'3" whenever I'm not hunched over to make an average 5'10", and just say, like, to the undergrads around, be like, "Hey, everybody, so we're here with the CDC. You know, everybody's trying to get a little bit of an early response on this. It seems like the folks that you heard earlier had a pretty severe stomach bug, and it's likely caused by fecal contamination. It's, you know, just getting it on your hands, and if you're doing things like touching your phones and then you hold that up to your face, like, oh buddy, that's gonna get in ears, eyes. If you touch, like, stop touching your face right now. Stop, don't do it, because unless you wash your hands with scalding hot water for at least 2 minutes, that's not going to do anything. So I think for everyone's safety, it would be best for y'all to put on gloves, and please try to refrain from getting on your phones unless you want to be shitting out worms later this week." And I'm happy to roll a persuade to see if I can.
I think I'll give you 2 bonus dice for that if you really want to make a roll. Because they are no way in hell going to put their phones up to their ears after hearing that kind of shit.
All right, I'm going to give myself a 50 in persuade just because if I can actually talk, it works. All right.
Yeah. But if you get a hard success or better, that you may actually get one of them to, not inadvertently, but will mention something of interest.
Okay. And that is... So the lowest would be a 12. That sounds like a hard. That sounds like a hard. Yep. Not quite an extreme, but I can if it would help too.
No, hard's fine.
Okay.
So yeah, you hear a couple of bits of banter going between a couple of students, where one of them says, "Oh, no wonder Ophelia got the fuck out of here if she's got that shit all over her hands. I mean, what didn't she go out through the? Didn't she bunk through the toilets?" And so another one turns it down and says, "No, you idiot! Of course why would she run through the toilets if she got fecal matter on her hands already? She would have got going in the toilets." "Oh yeah." And yeah, you're hearing that apparently this is where this Ophelia Waters was seen running. The way that she got out of the building was she went to the ladies' toilets and then bunked out a window.
I will lean over to sort of just quietly whisper with Dr. Hackett. I was just like, not sure if you just heard that. Are you missing one of your undergrads, someone named Ophelia?
Yeah, she gets the professor gets quite a, not stern look, but definitely a focused look about her. Just mentioning the name Ophelia does not fill her with any kind of happiness. Says, yeah,
I understand. I RA'd for 3 years. I deeply understand.
Give me a psychology roll.
Okay. I will do 40 in psychology because I'm pretty bookish. And that is an 84. I'm not going to spend 44 points of luck on that.
No. Okay, no, there's something that kind of crosses her face that makes you think, actually, no, it's not that. It's not what your initial hypothesis. Something else is going on here that you're not being able to put your finger on. But before you're able to kind of maybe read her in a bit more detail, that she says, no, Miss Waters is kind of known to the academic body that she's got some problems. And we've been looking into her for a little while. We've got some concerns about her.
I understand that there may be other issues that I'm not exactly privy to at the moment, but the issue here is that we have some folks with evidence of maybe some sort of a tapeworm contamination, and we do need to keep an eye on everyone to be sure that we're doing contact tracing and reducing any additional spread. Your students over there mentioned that she went into the restroom earlier and that they haven't heard anything since. I am not very keen to go diving into a women's restroom. If you wouldn't mind, do you think that folks here may be able to handle themselves? I can escort you just to try and bring her back in here to be with everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly have a look in there. As far as I'm aware, she's not in there now, because I poked my head in there earlier. But yeah, we can go and have. Well, I can go and
If
have
you
a look.
wouldn't
If you
mind
want,
checking
yeah.
before we check other rooms in the building, just to be sure. But it sounds like this is, I don't want just some student, especially like, I don't want some undergrad from Wayne State to get infected by all of this, because it's going to make everybody look really bad. So we can, count all of our ducks and just get that taken care of. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, she kind of not says under her breath, but kind of says quietly to you that this is all a bit. I'm a botanist. This is all a bit out of my field of expertise. So
I'm a pharmacist. How do you think I feel?
yeah, go figure. But yeah, you walk over with her towards the toilets. She heads on inside. From the doorway, you can still see in there. Give me a spot hidden roll.
Okay. I'll give myself a 60 in spot hidden. Everyone else is doing 50s. I'm gonna survive. And hell yeah, that is an 11. So extreme success, actually.
Right. In which case, then, you notice that from the angle that you look in, there's a couple of stalls inside. Then there's sort of wash basins on the other side of the room from that. You can see the window that's not been broken, but it's been forced up, and that's evidently where she's then jumped out of. But one of the stall's doors is open, and in big, thick, what looks to be almost permanent marker, but with one of those big, fat chiseled points, there's a message that's been scrawled on the interior of the bathroom stall.
Gracie, where are you? Call me, D.
Yeah, it looks like it's been it's a relatively recent piece of graffiti. You can see that it's been plastered over a whole load of other stuff, like numbers that have been placed, like, hey, you want a good time, call this number, kind of thing. But then this has been scrawled all over everything. In fact, with an extreme, you notice it's in both of these the two stalls that you can see. It's in both of them. So whoever's put this note in there is making it very obvious that whenever you go into a stall, they're going to see that message.
Okay.
But yeah, otherwise there is no one in here. There's nothing odd about the toilets. Nothing is crawling or writhing around in any of the lavatories themselves. Everything is otherwise normal in here.
Okay. In that case, I'll probably crack the door a little bit and just say, anybody in there? Oh,
apart from the professor that's gone in here, Hackett, I think her name was.
Hackett, yes.
Hackett, yes. But no, apart from her, there's no one else in there.
Okay. So then I'll just make a little bit of chit chat with her. Essentially just like, well, I guess we found out where your Ophelia ran off to. So sorry. I can let you get back with your students. Hopefully they'll be a little bit more on the ball there. I'm gonna run upstairs for just a second. But if you ever need anything, just feel free to shout. We're all here to help right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll, trust me, if we need anything, you'll hear me not scream, but you'll hear me hollering.
Okay, great. And sort of out of breath, I'm going to quick step up up to what was Mr. Moore's office, and presumably he is still clutching the desk and staring off into space. So yes. I do the very polite. I walk in and then say knock knock.
Hello there.
Hi there, Mr. Moore. Just doing some more contact tracing steps. Do you happen to know just records or other gossip around the shelter? A couple of folks that may be named Gracie, or someone that may go by just the name D? If any of them spend time around here?
D. Give me a luck roll to see if he does actually know who this is, because there's reasons why he may not initially know who this is.
Sure. That is a 69, which is a fail. Not nice.
Failing in style.
There we go.
Right. No, you can see he definitely he thinks he's not hiding anything. He thinks I don't know any Gracie. That's not it's not an uncommon name, but I can't think of any Gracie that comes here at all. And I can think of 100 Ds that turn up here. So I'm afraid it's a bit too the net's a bit too wide to cast on that one, I'm afraid.
Sure, sure. I understand. It's I think someone may be using your toilet stall doors as a kind of bulletin board system, and we just want to make sure that everybody is accounted for in here. They seem like they're really looking for their friend. So I know the rest
amount of
of the
graffiti
crew,
we have to repaint over in there. It's
that I believe it. Yeah, 100%. Okay. I guess I'll tell you what, I'll try and go downstairs and just ask some of the folks that have been through processing. God, I need to think of a better word than that. I'll ask them and see if we can help. But yeah, just everything's fine. Looks like it's just going to be sort of a simple stomach bug, tapeworm issue, but we're not going to use the W word around here.
yes,
So
yes,
we should
yes,
be
yes,
out of
yes.
your hair just in a few hours.
Yeah. You know, when he says out of your hair, he starts immediately. His hands go to his hair as if he's trying to look around. Is something crawling in there? And yeah, he seems to be checking himself over now. And it's about that time that, as you come out, that Dr. Gatt and Dr. Porter come out of the room with an eye to see the basement, and you meet up in the corridor.
Oh, I grabbed a fire extinguisher just because maybe that'll help.
What's wrong with you guys?
You're not going to believe what we found.
Sure. Tapeworms crawled out and just looking for a warm place to snuggle up.
Looking
Well,
for a
it was
warm place.
A 4-foot long, extremely powerful chawed eel worm thing ripped through the metal vent and bore its way through the brickwork and into the basement.
I'm looking at
looking
Dr.
faint?
Porter for confirmation. No, I'm looking at Dr. Porter for confirmation. Be like, is he fucking with me? Like,
No, he's not. He's not Daniels.
If it were Logan saying that, I would like catch on. But are you serious?
It's serious.
What are you talking about?
It's nothing we've ever heard of before. It's downstairs. We need to investigate, and I would like to find out where the thermostat for the building is, because if it's liking the warmth, then we might want to make things cold. The homeless people here are bundled up anyways, right?
I would think it'd be colder in the basement than it would be up here because heat.
Oh, so you think it likes the cold instead of the heat?
It depends on a lot of buildings around here have like boilers. That's where like our apartment has its own boiler room.
So we want to make things cold.
That means there's probably moisture down there too.
If there's anything like our old basement, yeah.
Porter, make sure no one uses the toilet.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The toilets have to be put off limits, according to Dr. Lake.
Are you on a bug hunt?
I think we need to close down the facility.
Why don't you call the goddamn animal control?
No.
No one goes down into the basement. No one uses any water supplies within the.
Well, we're going down to the basement. I got an axe.
Oh yes, you guys can. I just mean no one else in the building goes down. And no one uses the water or goes to the toilet. So you're probably going to have to evacuate the building.
Yeah.
Well, they had plenty of water bottles in here. Like, Dr. Lake, we're trying not to make a scene out of all of this. Like, that's why they sent us here to get it wrapped up. If we just say evacuate the building, that's going to be on the news tonight.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep
they
everyone in one place.
They had plenty of water bottles in there, and everyone is kind of cycling around towards the main room. We can see about getting maybe some porta-johns rented and just say that, the plumbing shot, there's a burst pipe, but that's we kind of got. I don't want to lose my job over this, man.
But
you got job security.
What do you think will happen though if this becomes gets out? Not the word, but the virus or whatever the hell is causing this, and they say, why didn't you do something in the
Yeah, like
beginning.
why didn't we let hundreds of people go that could be potentially contaminated vectors? Like
No,
we
if you
can't
think
just.
that's
I
the
think
false-
I think what you need to make sure everyone in the building is in the main hall. You get portaloos brought in, no one has access to the actual toilets, and everyone drinks bottled water.
We can request that,
Like
I'm
you said.
sure.
That'll
We should
last
be
a
able to do
couple
that.
of hours until the people explode from not using the bathroom.
Well, hopefully you'll find whatever goddamn Hulkasaurus
Well-
worm that you're just talking about now.
Okay, I think we need to visualize this, guys. Okay. We're in an island of heat right now. This is a bundle of warmth. Outside, we're surrounded by an ocean of cold. If we're understanding this creature correctly, it likes heat. But people are rafts, and I think we know that somebody left.
People are rafts.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. Okay. So we got to keep the thing on the island. Maybe we'll make certain parts of the building colder where the people are, so they don't feel inclined to go there. So they're in a safer subtropical zone, whatever you want to call it. And then we got to this Orphelia person. We got to find out where she's gone because she could be carrying the stuff.
Right. She's
I
hurt.
think-
She's hurt.
Um,
Yeah.
And
That's
Dr. Lake gave us a clue as to where to look for where the other two are.
yeah, as I said,
You know, the longer she's out, the more of a problem this is.
So we got to get an APB on her. Can we do that?
APB on her.
Don't you think that's
APB
a
on
bit
her.
excessive? They just got
No,
here
we
this
have to-
morning.
We have to
It
get an
doesn't-
APB on her.
We have
Daniels.
We have
Daniels.
at least three
No.
other fucking
No, no,
dead
no,
or
no, no.
missing homeless people around here, and you're worried about a goddamn undergrad who fucking
Yes.
skipped out on her volunteer gig. Are
She
you
is-
listening to
She is a
yourself?
raft.
And she was in the bathroom as well, going by
You
your.
can make that call. I'm gonna try to get things settled here. I don't know what
I'm
the
gonna-
fuck has
I'm
gotten
gonna ask
into
for an
all
A-
of you. You
I'm
are
gonna ask-
overreacting like crazy
I-
right now.
You've
Okay.
never been in this kind of situation.
Daniels. Okay, we're not overacting. I'm going to generally lead Daniels to the room. I'm going to open the door. Look.
I'm gonna roll POW.
Blood everywhere.
I faint.
Okay, I catch you because I was expecting that.
Oh boy.
As
God,
I'm
he's
doing
heavy.
my-
Holy shit, Daniels.
As I'm doing my thing, this is why we don't bring.
It's okay. He had to see it. God damn
They
it, man.
called
Wake
us
up.
in. We
Slap,
didn't have any
slap,
choice.
slap.
I
Wake
know,
up,
I
slap,
know, I know.
slap.
You know, dead bodies are so much more peaceful to be
also-
around.
Someone needs to figure out locations of the old buildings.
Mhm,
So
we need a
get
map.
touch of
Yeah.
building
Yep.
records. Find old buildings connected. As I'm doing my little, I'm
Yep.
kind of multitasking.
Detroit, there's going to be a lot of old buildings, a lot of old brick buildings.
But over 100 years old.
The basements have drains. In
But
case of
we've
flooding.
but we have also got a time frame that we can. They're over
Yeah.
a certain age, which would also decrease the amount of old buildings, and also old buildings either on or directly next to construction sites.
There are a couple of things that you can definitely work from there, because being locals, you have at least a knowledge of the downtown area. One, it was mentioned in your briefing that the police are already actively looking for Ophelia, so the APB is
Okay.
already out there for her.
Oh, okay.
Good. Okay.
To piece together what Dr. Lake is saying about the potential area, old buildings, building sites as well, give me an edu roll. So this is going to be off your knowledge.
Is that all of
Yes.
us?
I failed by 2, so if everyone else fails, I can spend luck.
97.
I got a normal success. Although if it's Delta Green, it'd be good.
This is spectacular rolls going around tonight. This is what I like to see. Like I said, you're gonna need that luck.
Yeah, I
that's
just got a
too high.
regular.
So, any advance on a regular success?
Cost way too much. Is there anyone we can call in the records department that
second.
might know? Oh, sure.
Well, regular successes will at least give you an idea of one area that would fit.
Okay.
Now,
What were
this
we
is-
rolling on?
oh,
Education.
yeah,
Education.
so
Oh.
it's a no roll, so it runs off your edu.
All right, then I did pass.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Very good.
all right. I think I have a map for this, so I can give you a
Just rolled
proximity
79. I
to.
assumed I failed. Got an 80.
We're all educated people here, you know.
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper.
Yes, we're doctors, Pepper.
He's a cola doctor. If this was E. coli, then he would know exactly.
Hopefully, this will give Daniels a reality check into the actual work we do here.
Daniels has been given very pleasant narratives this whole time.
I know, and I was a mistake on my part. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to apologize to you when you wake up. I'm going to put you in a chair first, so you're comfortable. God damn it!
Porter, this is why we joke with him, because it builds character.
Yeah, I have to rethink that.
It worked. Here's a map of the immediate area of the parts of the downtown district. Right, the NSO Center is pinned in the middle of the map.
Mm-hmm.
So just over, this would be between, depending on which part you're looking at, maybe 3/4 of a mile to a mile away. Over to the east, there is a district called Brush Park, which is near the intersection of Highway 75. So this was once an affluent area. It's a historic area that went into decline in the 1960s. It had a series of many grand townhouses that were abandoned and fell into disrepair. Several attempts were made to revive the area. The most successful began in the 90s and actually continues to this day. Large areas where homes and parks once stood are now building sites. Large areas are just completely abandoned. They're rubble strewn all over the place. But there are a number of historic buildings that are there and remain empty. Some of them have been marked for demolition. Others are attempting to be preserved. But that seems to be the prime candidate of where putting together the material that Dr. Lake has found, and that it was said it was within walking distance. That's your number one candidate for where and these group of homeless would have been based.
All right. Well, I say after we're done here, we can go hit that place up. People who are in the center should probably stay there since it's quarantine, baby.
Well, sounds good to me.
Let me finish up my examination, and then
Dr. Lake, have you determined any particular vulnerabilities these creatures have?
I don't know how long it's been because it said it would take a couple of hours.
Oh, so can you also try dewormer on them?
Oh yeah, vermectin.
If it just like kills them, because if it does, that's great.
That's going to be part of the experiment.
That's part of my process.
All right.
Do not question my process.
The dewormer, usually the animal has to ingest it and it gets in their blood, and that's how the animal gets poisoned. But salt on a worm or an insect, or what is it, a slug,
bugs.
It's very bad.
It's living in the intestinal tract to begin with, though, right?
I mean, yeah. Dr. Lake's trying it all out.
Don't worry. Yeah. I'm doing all the experiments. And then we'll head on. We should probably send a containment unit to that. It'll just spark up.
What could we use to catch a contaminated animal that might be dangerous? What would we have access to? There's something.
Well, you do have animal control outside. As mentioned, there were dog units that were going around in increasingly larger circles looking for some animal outside. So if you wanted to take a wander outside to one of the vans, you can have one of those got sticks with a loop around the end that you could tie tight to grab dogs with.
I wonder what kind of dogs are they? Bloodhounds, or if we if we wiped some of that residue onto a cloth and gave it the dogs to sniff, that might give them a lead on what to be smelling for. Won't they do that with people's socks and?
Yeah. Well, we need to talk to the handlers so that they just point and they don't engage the creature. We don't want them just to get attacked.
But shall we go down to the basement and see if we can?
Yeah, but if we can use
monster?
it, sure. If we can use a dog to help us locate it without getting it hurt, I think that'd be ideal. Can we talk to one of the handlers?
Yeah, there'd be, and this is where your CDC kind of training about vectors would come in as well. Taking a dog down into the basement, probably not a great idea unless you confirm that it's a clear area, that there's no chance of them getting infected down there.
Right. Okay.
The first problem that you encounter, which is very quickly overcome, is that when you go over to the door to the basement, you find it's locked. So no one has been down there. Well,
That's
it's not
good.
tonight anyway. So by going back to Moore's office and saying, hey, we need to get down there, he will be able to give you the key, and he confirms that key has been on his possession all night. So you are the first people to go down there.
The other thing is, does he know where the thermostats are? Obviously,
the thermostat's actually in the main corridor. So if you want to turn up, there is also, as Trevor indicated, yes, there is indeed a boiler down in the basement. So that's where the heating comes from. It can be controlled from downstairs, and also in by the thermostat, which is right next to the basement door as well, that controls the heating for the whole building.
But if it likes that temperature, maybe we don't want to drive it to some other location.
That's what I was thinking. If we lower the temperature of everywhere but there, so it doesn't feel inclined to leave, then we'll at least have it in one spot.
Yeah, and
people are going to have to put their coats on, but just I'm sure we can come up with a reason for it.
What the fuck is that? But people are warm. If you turn down the temps, all the people are going to huddle up together, and it's going to be a big fucking buffet.
Yeah, but
what the fuck is that?
Well, as far as we know, the thing doesn't climb up walls.
You just said it burrowed through brick.
Well, it burrowed down.
Yeah. But if it wants to stay near the furnace, we just want to make every place less attractive than the furnace for now.
Things usually need legs of some sort or some manner, some ability to climb.
Looking at the tracks, do we think there's two of these worms?
There are definitely two.
2 4-foot long worms. Okay.
And just to point out over the comms, by lowering the temperature in the main, it might draw out some other reactions from anyone, even if they're not showing
that's true
obvious symptoms.
Daniels, if you don't want to go down, if you just want to keep an eye on people acting different once we get the room colder, that might be a good idea. Are you okay with that?
That sounds like a great idea.
Did you confirm that both worms went down to the basement?
Yeah, one burrowed down, and then the other one went down the same hole.
Right.
Yeah, and keep track of the water consumption and the food consumption, because if someone's drinking more than normal, that's a telltale sign.
Dr. Pepper determined that there is changes to the skin of the was the forearms, Dr. Pepper? It gets through ghosts?
Yeah, they'll get thirsty before they exhibit any other other symptoms, because all the other symptoms are caused by dehydration and malnutrition, etc. Except for
there's unusual forearm development or something, or skin change.
Yeah, jaundice. There's going to be yellowing of the eye area, the white part of the eyes. That can be from other causes, but just be safe. And there also might be some internal bleeding or bruising. You're going to see, pretty evident signs if it's going into effect. But I would say for the less evident, just look at the eyes, the white part of the eyes, and then maybe give him a throat examination if you are brave enough.
Well, hopefully the gestation period is.
It looks like it's a couple weeks, at least a few weeks.
If it's a slow gestation period, then we might not see any signs at all. For days and days and days.
It's more if anyone's come into contact outside, because obviously we get people coming in and out.
Yep.
Check for anyone with, it sounds stupid, but check anyone with stomach pains and stuff like that. I know everyone gets stomach pains, but
especially when they're stressed.
The only real way to know is fecal sample.
What is in place if homeless people are living in various places around here and they start dying? How soon are we going to hear about it? Do police find them? Do other people find them? Or do they just sit there and rot and produce giant worms? And
in the winter, they could be there for quite a while.
Well, my worry with the location of the brush area is if the other two people are deceased are there and they're also deceased, I would rather quarantine it, but we'd need a good reason to do it without alarming anyone. And it's quite a large area.
I'm sure.
I think worrying about alarming people is the last thing that we should think of.
Yeah,
we've got to save these people.
Mm-hmm.
And
then we just straight up get a quarantine team over there.
Well, CDC said if we need any help, call them.
get police to roadblock the road and get a containment field around
We
all
do
the
have to
buildings.
find out that's what's actually happening first.
Yeah.
This is some sort of Russian bioweapon being unleashed on our homeless
I mean,
population.
it definitely could be.
I think that
It
we need
doesn't
to
seem
pull out
natural.
all the stops.
At
Why
this
don't
point,
we put together a small team to go systematically through a lot of these buildings and see if we find any dead bodies?
Well, that's true.
We're going
We
to
could-
find dead bodies.
We could
We're
get
going
a
to find dead
but-
bodies.
But if we find dead bodies that are 3 months dead with the same symptoms,
Mhm.
this is an epidemic.
Oh, that's worrying.
We could
didn't even think
send
about
a
that.
small CDC containment team before me, Tassev, and Pepper can go over there, because we'll go over once I've finished my examination. If we can send another small team just to go and check the buildings in that area.
Even the big buildings, I think that the team could go through a building in what, half an hour? You just got to look and see if there's dead bodies.
The smell would give it away.
That's probably true.
We just get a
Hold out
team.
there.
We just get a team over there, and obviously, if they see anything, they can quarantine it. Me, Tassev, and Pepper will go over after I've finished my examinations.
All right,
Yeah.
let's go.
Thinking of riffing off something that Dr. Lake said a little while ago, as let's say Dr. Porter's been given the key by Mr. Moore to open up the basement. Just as you open up the door and swing or unlock it and swing open the door, Dr. Lake gave that wonderful piece of advice that no one should use the toilet.
Mhm.
However, in a non-fictional world, I think it's about time to probably break that piece of advice and go for a bio break. If people
Good segue. Yes, excellent.
So after that brief interlude of potentially a real world horror, back to the staircase leading down into the basement. So hopefully no one got attacked in a Stephen King-like fashion of something coming up from the toilet. You open the door, and there is indeed a staircase. It's not rickety. It's not like it's been eaten through. It's not going to collapse on you as you head down there. But it's a nice firm metal staircase that goes down. There is the typical pull string light that illuminates the basement. You can hear there is the boiler down there. The furnace is currently operable, so there is a low-level hum which fills the basement. But also there is the sound of dripping or splashing down there.
Oh, yeah, the water. Yep.
And whoever is brave enough to descend the stairs first gets a good
I've
view
got
of
the axe, so I'll go
basement.
down first.
Okay. I'll have the fire extinguisher and a light behind him, holding behind him if we need it.
Gotcha. So yeah, you've got ranged and you've got up close and personal, because an axe will definitely axe will defeat a worm. So you head down the staircase and get to the concrete floor, and find there are rather a few puddles of water that are littered around the floor where some minor pipe work has broken, and it's almost like you're looking at the equivalent of standing within a block of Swiss cheese. That there are bits of the floor, there are bits of the walls, there are bits of even of the ceiling that have just been gobbled up. So there are tracks that go all the way around the room, as these two separate tracks have been eating everything in their wake. Concrete, wood, metal, cardboard, plastic. There is just these threads that are eaten through the entire room, and that culminate on a metal hatch in one corner of the room with one word on it: sewer.
And is the sewer open then?
The hatch has been almost not pushed aside, but has been flipped over, and you can see this is where both of these trails congregate and then head down, straight down to the open manhole cover that goes directly into the sewer network beneath you. More concerningly, these burrows, when you kind of your eye follows where they come through, initially come down from the wall and then out of the wall, corresponds to the above air vent. Those munching track marks, they start off at 4 inches wide, By the time they get to the sewer hole, they are 6 inches wide.
Jesus Christ.
Is this the storm sewer or the waste sewer?
The latter, the waste sewer.
The waste sewer. Is it big enough for people, or kind of like a small thing that only waste can go through?
It's more of an inspection hatch. You could go outside to the police to get a camera to lower down there, but climbing down there, that's going to be probably a bit more difficult for anyone that's above size 40.
Yeah,
it's not a drainage, which is usually much bigger. Well,
okay,
I mean, there's one possible good thing, and that's that the sewer's going to be freaking cold.
yeah. I'm wondering why they went to the sewers, given how cold they are. They could go dormant if we're lucky. We should try a camera. Yeah, we should try a camera just in case to see if they're down there dead or asleep.
Where does the sewer go? Does it go to a sewage treatment plant?
Eventually, yes. There are lots. If you, let's say this could be something you pull up on your phone or do an information request. The sewer networks are almost run parallel for a lot of downtown Detroit. They do connect to a treatment plant that's further to the southeast and the southwest from where you are, but a lot of the larger outlets run straight into the river.
Oh, even the sewage water,
just wastewater that runs off. There are direct ports where they flow straight out into the river.
Now the river's frozen right now because of the time of year, though, right?
I would say it's there's a very good chance of it being frozen.
It's flowing underneath, though. It's just the
right.
surface that's frozen.
So how do they deal with cold water, though? Let's get the camera just to see if we can get a sense of what direction they went in. If they went away from the river.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Not going to play through the whole thing. You can get that camera and put it down there.
Mm-hmm.
There is evidence sign that they have gone through the effluent and eaten their way through the sludge and the shit that's piled up in the base of the pipes. It looks like they're running parallel to the river. They're not going towards the river.
It's biomass, and if they're putting on, holy crap,
they're attracted to organic waste material, and that's what they're eating. Yes.
And which are they traveling east or west from us then?
From where you are, they're traveling west.
How can we tell what the diameter of the pipe is that they're in?
The pipe that they start off with, that's down beneath you, is about 2 feet across, and they're 6 inches wide. So you could fit a couple, probably 3 or 4 of them that are pushed down there.
Okay.
They're traveling
they just
west.
don't eat pipes.
They're eating as they go, probably clearing out giant masses of crap that have been piled up for the longest time.
Actually, are they traveling uphill? I mean, are they traveling upstream or downstream?
They would be traveling away from the Great Lake. So away from Lake St. Clair.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm still if the affluence is going in this direction, are they going in that direction, or are they going the other way?
They're going with the flow, so towards if you planted it on the map, they are going towards the water treatment plant.
Okay. Yeah, if they were going the other way, then they would be coming up in people's toilets eventually, and they still could do that. But
yeah. But the water treatment plant has probably got a lot of tasty stuff. So we should anticipate them going there.
It also will have some stuff that will kill bacteria and stuff. So, but still, what if they get into the ocean and they just start eating everything that they come across?
Well, they've gone 50% up in size, right? They're just going to keep getting bigger as they go.
We assume so. If they've reached an adult size, then maybe they'll stop. But
that's also 50% increase in size in the time that they were down here.
The sewer people have like drones and robots they can send through things. We could go to the end where where we think is the end point, send some drones or robots down and see if we can spot this thing and figure out what tunnel it's coming down.
Well, there are plenty of inspection hatches all over the major intersections of the city. You could have teams from the local place of the sewage treatment plants, or even city ordnance that could be dispatched to these key intersections to inspect what's down there. That you could easily call in the CDC to ask the local authorities to do that.
Okay, we should do that immediately so we get a sense of where its current location is, if nothing else.
Right? They will, in which case you can put out that call, and your superiors will start making wheels turn.
Okay. Yep, no hesitation. We have to do it. I'm actually just as glad we didn't run into them immediately, to be honest.
Porter or Gat? Porter or Gat, because you two are probably better suited. One of you needs to ring in to do a check-in with our boss.
How is she going to react to this?
I don't know.
Because
I make the rock, paper, scissors motion with Gat. You ready?
Why are you afraid of talking to her?
Shit, I'm talking to her. Okay.
Actually, in all of this, I'm really thinking Daniels is going into crisis management mode and is working with Dr. Harrison, like saying, we need to order porta-johns, get more bottles of water, just shutting things down, but keeping people contained in here, and ordering a quarantine site for the residential area that Dr. Lake mentioned earlier. And then, like, in the middle of conversation, I'm gonna be going, what the fuck do you mean they're going in the sewers?
Okay, so they're no longer on the premises, so now this is technically a safe space as long as no one else here is sick. So
well, we still need to weed that part out.
Yes,
Sorry,
I know, but we don't need to do any kind of immediate evacuation though.
No, keep your place quarantined for now.
Yeah.
Now, if this is a super big deal, do you think we could have the governor call in the National Guard?
That would be a lot of notice. Well,
that would be a lot of notice.
I understand that, but if it's as important as you're saying it is,
I think
we keep it to contamination teams for now. We have enough power to do that. If it gets too out of hand, that is when we call.
I don't want to be the contrarian here, but it seems to me that we have a fairly non-dangerous threat on our hands. I mean, obviously this is lethal to human people if they get infected with it, but it seems like it has a rather low rate of spread. And especially if these things are that large, it would be hard for me to picture what they would do with that size to a human. They couldn't invade one.
No, but they
can eat through concrete. So
yeah, if you've seen look at the pictures.
If they keep growing, especially if they're going to keeping to heat and waste, and they keep growing, they could potentially become big enough to be an even bigger threat, where they don't need to.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Pepper.
Also means they're easy to locate. I mean, if they're that large, they're going to start causing blockages. They're going to start causing.
But they could also spread, because I assume they would be able to create spawn into people.
Eggs.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
Our main factor is just going to be keeping them from getting to the water treatment plant. Then there is plenty of chemicals and sanitization that goes in there. That's why we're not like shitting worms all the time. That's why we're not shitting worms all the time. But it's honestly, if they're still progressing at this rate, we know the direction that they're going. We need to head them off. If they're attracted to body mass, just get some folks in the sewers with fucking AR-15s, or dump a shitload of bleach to poison them. It doesn't matter. Dump rat poison in there.
They're not recycling that water, are they?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, treatment plants.
Where do you think your gray water comes from?
Wait a minute.
No.
Could we ask for some kind of you know how like sometimes when the storm drains are overflowing, they have to dump it into the sewage? Could we ask for some kind of overflow of cold water to be dumped through the sewage drains? That might take them out.
It's all cold. There's no heating down there.
Yeah, why not just dump
But out of game, wouldn't that just cause them to burrow out of the sewage pipes and then just go somewhere that we can't control? Like they're not. The cold doesn't kill them. They just don't like it.
They might get some kind of shock reaction. Well, anyways, let's find out where they are, and then we'll try to determine what to do after that.
There's also no reason at this point to believe that they just keep getting bigger and bigger. as far as I know, there's not an animal on the planet that gets bigger and bigger
No.
unless,
well,
you know, it reaches an adult size and then it stops growing.
Dr. Gatt, this is not the time for me to talk to you about the square cube law, but yes, no, there can be no upper limit for things in the bottom of the ocean, that these things can hypothetically grow until they can't, and then they will die.
Yeah.
But that's going to, we don't know what that limit is for them.
I agree. But Gat, Porter, and Daniels, I guess you try and deal with the treatment plan however you deem necessary. Me, Tassa, and Pepper will go to the find the other. We can safely assume probably bodies that we are going to find. Hopefully, what Daniels, did you say that you called a team to go and check those buildings for us?
I talked with Dr. Harrison and asked for a quarantine team for that area, as it seems like that was a likely site for contamination for those two gentlemen. We still have two of their immediate contacts we are not familiar with, and I have reason to believe that there's at least one more that might be infected.
Exactly. And hopefully the police will find her.
Tass, if you're a true crime fanatic, do you have a CCW?
CCW? No.
I don't believe in firearms myself, but
I do not have a
If it
concealed
gets
carry permit.
If it gets as big as you guys are imagining it might get, we need a bazooka.
well,
It's the tapeworm that ate Cincinnati, or the tapeworm that ate Detroit.
Well, you're saying that it was 4 feet long whenever it emerged, and now it's already gone 50% larger in diameter.
Yep.
These things don't have to get that big to, pardon my French, really fuck things up. They can get as big as a Rottweiler, and if they can burrow through brick already, this is insane.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Dr. Lake, can you find anything that they don't like?
I am still in the process, unless the 2 hours has come to.
This is what I say. We can have a nice coincidental timing here. That if people are happy with the examination of the NSO Center, even talking with a couple of other members of the populace there, the homeless, etc., that you can have made it that time will coincide with Dr. Lake finishing his examination. If you're happy with that,
yeah,
sure.
Right. So the list of things that you discover about these things. First, they dislike but are not damaged by bright lights. So while you have your bright light shining down on them through the microscope, they don't like bright light. They're not not hurt by it, but definitely they try to move away from the light source. One that you've already ascertained, they are attracted to warmth but not repelled by cold. They're also attracted to organic matter, which they then consume. If more than one of them, which in this case there is, if more than one of them is left in a dish without other organic matter, which they consume the little parts of excrement from the anal cavity that you just happen to get in with the tweezers with them. Once they've consumed that, they are cannibalistic. They consume each other. So without anything else to consume, the babies, the little small grains of rice size, they can't burrow through plastic yet, but they can burrow through each other. And one does turn on the other and does try to consume it. They can survive complete immersion in water, but they actually seem to prefer that environment. So they do like to be completely submerged. They have thick hides, even for their sides, which makes dissection difficult, but not impossible. Likewise, you can potentially squash it if you've got something solid that you can crash it against other two fairly solid substances while it's small. You imagine if that thick hide extrapolates as the size gets larger, that tactic isn't going to work unless you've got a hydraulic press or a truck that you could try and squash it with. When you cut one into two parts, they just die. They don't become separate beings or regenerate, so you don't have to worry about it being something like a hydra that's suddenly I cut one in half and then I've got two to deal with. Their internal structure is unlike anything on Earth that you can even compare this to. The fact their digestive system is incredibly efficient. Nearly everything eaten facilitates growth. that whatever they consume will make them grow. Their excretions display, and this is what ties in with what Dr. Pepper was looking at. Their excretions display definite mutagenic properties, facilitating the transformation of their hosts into something else other than what they were. They're vulnerable to certain poisons, especially carbamate insecticides. So there's a number of things that you can potentially consider laying down in the sewers that could have a decent effect on them. It will kill other wildlife, but potentially a small price to pay. And potentially the worst one to leave till last. They reproduce by parthenogenesis. They do not need another.
Oh.
They don't need another mate. They will self-replicate.
Well, I'm going to do a sanity roll just from everything that I've seen. I've seen some
perfectly reasonable.
I've seen a lot of crazy stuff in my time. That is actually a success, but
Okay.
I'll still take one if that's okay. Because
I think one is perfectly reasonable because how this manifests is maybe what Trevor was saying about like deep sea giganticism. That if these things just continue to eat and continue to grow, you have no idea how big these things could become. They could become huge.
Yeah, and I relay that to you because I hypothesize along with Daniels in it. Well, I sort of agreed. I agreed with him about the growth anyway, but I say we're looking at like creature. If we look at thousands of years ago, big sea creatures that we know, they could grow. They could potentially grow this big, going by how their systems work.
Now, how the hell did they get into homeless people?
And are we gonna believe that it's a terrorist attack, or are they aliens from another planet?
What the hell are we talking about aliens or terrorists?
The Russians couldn't engineer this. There's no way they could. They're not.
It's not.
Or
it's not a human life. It's not a life form from this planet.
All right, our job is to deal with it right now.
Yeah, you can keep worrying about that, but we got to nip this in the bud right now. This is bad. Okay, Lake, you said that they don't like light, right? That they tend to shy away from it. We need Mr. Moore, can you unlock your computer for us, please?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Now get out, please and thank you. CDC business.
Bye.
Bye.
He probably leaves
and slam the door. So I want to try to pull up the sewer maps of just the city of Detroit, assuming that I can just get that on like a public database or something.
I got a handout for it when I ran this in person. That through Google, there are indeed the city sewer plans are available online.
Nice. Public domain for the win.
You can maybe herd them with spotlights at the entrances of these sewers.
Exactly what I was thinking, Logan. Yeah. So if we know the direction that they're going in the sewers, they're going to be munching on fatbergs the whole way there. Get ahead of them, drop spotlights in to try to herd them away. Back behind where they know that they've been, drop some bait in there. There's a Euro shop just around the corner here. Fucking commandeer one of their big spit roast things and then dump Lake. You find whatever that whatever pesticide, dump some fucking Terminex, Roundup, I don't care on it, and leave it in the water behind them. Give them something warm to go back to if we can turn them around with the lights. Or if someone wants to draw a short straw and walk it up to them and chunk it in the middle.
You know the EPA is not going to be happy about this, Trevor.
Do you know how much Roundup gets put into the city water anyways? Like, who fucking cares? Tell people to stop
we're
having
talking
lawns.
about destroying entire species that live in this ecosystem.
Well,
this
that's
is
what
why
they
we
know
need to
about
update.
it.
Is that really your call to make?
Update our boss.
They're going to get eaten anyways.
Call the CDC.
We have to get higher authorization if we are going to do.
Listen, those EPAs don't know their ass with. I can't even.
Yes, but Daniels, it doesn't matter if we have to get higher authorization. We can't do it without higher authorization.
Now,
I'm going to call Dr. Harrison in here and just say, yeah.
Now, those of you, this is covered by quite a few different areas. You've got potentially medicine, biology, chemistry, even pharmacology come in here. So between you all would be able to reach this kind of conclusion that one of the best deployment methods would not be in the water supply itself, would be within the large piles of organic waste material in the sewers that they are eating. Particularly as a carbamate insecticide is the best thing to use. You'd be looking at something like bendiacarb would be the prime weapon of choice here. That it's something you could dump into the sewers, into those waste piles in the sewers, and there'd be relatively few other wildlife, maybe apart from vermin potentially, that would go down there and start to literally eat around in the shit. That there'd be relatively little chance of cross-contamination or other animals being infected by this and being kind of killed as collateral damage. So that's definitely a plan that can be consensually formed between the various different specialties that you have. But in the meantime, particularly as you wanted to go out and have a word with Dr. Harrison, she comes in just as she's got tapping her earpiece, as she's having word come back from the various different teams going out to look at the different sewer entrances. She's looking a little pale as she reports back to you that, yeah, I've just had word from the city ordnance teams. The furthest report we've got going out where they've opened manhole covers and found stuff squirming down there is a mile away. These things are all over the fucking sewer system, all over it. They're not. Some of them are like small granular sized. Others have been reported to like up to a foot long. Some of them 2 feet long. But these things are all over the place.
I'm gonna roll sanity.
Yep, you can.
That's a pass, but I probably vomit into a bucket
Or
into the office trash can.
Yeah. thankfully, there's nothing writhing around in your puke. But yeah, the fact that there is such a widespread contamination means that these things must have been here for a while.
Oh, so this isn't just these two.
No.
This is predating this.
It's what I was afraid of.
Okay, so we can't just easily poison one selection of this tunnel to get the two guys that are out there.
You are looking at you're looking at a widespread poisoning of the entire sewer network to get these things.
The tank trucks full of carbamatic acid
or how many water treatment plants do we have for the area? If everything's going to get funneled to the one plant, can we use it like a roach motel?
There is the one major treatment plant on this part of the river. I was going to say river coastline, the riverside, before you get into Lake St. Clair. There are other treatment plants which are much further afield, but in the area that you're looking at that is contaminated, there is really only the one plant.
Dr. Harrison, I don't know what kind of authorization we do or don't have, but there may need to be an accident at that water treatment plant if we are going to contain this spread before it gets into the water. Dr. Lake mentioned that these things tend to thrive in aquatic environments, and if they manage to get to Lake St. Clair, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not a biologist. I just know this is bad.
I think water treatment plants usually have a screen to keep large objects from entering the plant.
Well, they have a lot of
can chew through it.
They have a lot of separate pools, like a whole bunch.
But it might be at least a temporary containment that we can take advantage of to kill whatever it is. Well, if we take samples of Lake St. Clair and find the small ones, the microscopic ones,
then it's over already.
It's time to move to some other country.
Somewhere cold. It's colder.
Are these things vulnerable to nuclear weaponry?
Everything is. Come on.
Not necessarily. Lots of insects are not affected by nuclear contamination.
I would say no. Is from just knowledge and hypothesizing, nuclear explosion would not work in this case.
Okay. Looks like we've been out-evolved, boys.
We'd have to develop an extremely powerful toxin that hopefully specifically goes after this biology. But we need to know what the biology is. We need to get some larger.
Well, that's where we have pesticides are our best bet here.
Can we have the water treatment plant work with us if we reason with them that, hey, you're liable for this if you don't follow our instructions?
It's a national emergency.
There's been enough time passed, so I don't want people just suddenly jump on a particular statement. But someone did say something that maybe once combined with another piece of information that came out of Dr. Lake's assessment might spark an idea. So everyone can give me idea rolls, but I'm going to look for hard success to see if you can put these two pieces of almost disparate information together.
28.
Oh, 23.
91.
28 out of 28 out of 70.
I'm pretty sure I got a
23 is a hard success.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not my day.
So it sounds like Lake and Porter got this.
And
Well,
me.
And Gat. Sorry, didn't catch Gat. It's something that Trevor said about. Is there any potential that this is like a roach motel, or is that the one route that all these things are going to be going down to get to the water treatment plant? And yeah, there are a number of points that run into the treatment plant. It's not a single route. There are, I think from memory, there's about 4 different main kind of arterial flows that go down the larger pipes to get to the treatment plant, but they are bottlenecks. These things are also cannibalistic, and you've seen that the ones that are reported to be spread out over this large area, if there are like 2 worm enter, 1 worm leave in a particular area, they're going to eat each other.
So if we cordon them off, we could maybe reduce them down to 1 big worm. Is that the plan?
Well, they'll
Almost,
if they run
but-
out of food, they're going to start eating.
Well, there'll be
each other.
one that survives, 1 big worm.
Not necessarily.
But yeah,
2 worms could eat each other at the same time and kill each other.
But still, we're talking about putting rats in a barrel. So yeah, then let's just put spotlights, cold, everything that we can to try to head off these few access points. Fuck it, dump as many of the pesticides as we can to like kill some ones up front so they can keep cannibalizing each other and block it up.
The thing where I'm going with this is that the ones you've seen as being like 6 inches wide and that were 4 foot long and then go up to 6 foot long. These 2 that are in here are much bigger than anything that's been reported around the city so far. Where are the big ones?
Right. So there should be more big ones that are bigger.
Or if there aren't, what's been eating them?
What
So-
if,
I don't know why I'm thinking
You
of
mean they have a
Tremors right now.
predator?
well, what if there were more than one of them in the bodies, and the only 2 that escaped were the ones that were big enough to win the fight with all the others?
That's potential.
You know
Yeah,
that at least
there's
it
evidence.
cracked out 2 babies.
I just want to. Now, me, Tasso, and Pepper are available. We need to head to the residential B.
Well, hasn't it gone beyond that? We know that it's been in multiple.
Yes, but we still need to contain those bodies if there are other bodies.
The
Because then
bodies
that's
make
evidence.
them real big.
Because then that's evidence, and then if the parasites or whatever are still there, we can contain them as well. So if
we
they haven't
find
been
the-
able to get anywhere,
If we find the origin of this thing, maybe we could find some way to stop it.
just focusing on the sewer system and the treatment plant is not going to solve
No,
our
you're
overall
right.
issue.
Yeah.
No,
It
we gotta
seems-
got to get patient 0, whoever that is.
It seems to
Okay,
me that
so we'll
Well,
just
we're
split
gonna
up.
have to
One
split
person
up.
does the plan,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the other side does the.
I'll go to the
research.
water treatment plant and see how bad the infection is. See if it's actually getting past the treatment plant.
I think it makes sense for my forensic skill that I look into the origin.
I agree. I think
I
I'll head up to the treatment plant because I want to try to coordinate a way to seal off
Yeah.
those bottlenecks and get that done.
As I said, we might as well stick in the freeze that we are already
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
You 3 go to the treatment plant, us 3 go to the
Sure.
old residential.
Now, from a perspective of making sure that everyone is getting a slice of the action here, if you want to coordinate with the treatment plant, that is something that either Dr. Peters or Dr. Harrison could do for you, because that can be done remotely. So they can take up liaising with the treatment plant and leave you guys free to examine other areas if you want.
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
That works. We might have
check in with the police to see if they have had any reports on the missing.
Brown
Can
Brush
we-
Park, you mean?
Can we all hypothesize on where this kind of an infection might have came from? You've mentioned an attack, a terrorist attack. It's a possibility. In which case, the origin would be what? In the homeless areas themselves.
But that doesn't
Or
make any
is there-
sense.
Is
This
there
is-
a woodland or a?
There's no way this is a terrorist attack.
There
No,
is
but if
something
you-
that we could hypothesize. I'm sorry, Daniel, for interrupting, but with all the construction work going on in the city, because there is a lot that we know, maybe something was uncovered and has been let out, because there's been many, because we know a lot of things have crashed down to earth throughout the years. We know there's a lot of fossils, a lot of old things.
Dr. Lake, did you find any way this thing goes dormant? Does it have a dormant stage where it can be dormant for a long period of time? So that's not possible. There's no way these things were somehow sleeping and got woken up. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But they could have been underground. And
The
some
Although
eggs,
there
the
are-
eggs could have gone dormant as well.
There are stories of miners deep in coal mines breaking open rocks and finding frogs that came back to life that must have been there for 10,000 years. It's
Wow.
extremely rare, but if the conditions are perfect, then they go into a kind of frozen stasis. And
all it would have taken is just one of them to be down there, because obviously they cannibalize each other. So if it's not getting anything, it's just surviving on whatever grains it can get. And then all it takes is for that one to have been unearthed and passed through to someone or some kind of matter, and then you get the spread.
So
All right.
should we assume they stay small because normally they're very, very, very deep down? Is that what you're thinking?
or they just don't have
Well,
a
I'm
lot of food.
Well, Lake mentioned that he found the sawdust or something that was from old buildings. So
Yeah.
if someone may have just
Yeah.
had something stored in the basement, even like old specimens, and then they got knocked over, I mean, who fucking knows? But that's not the point.
Exactly.
The point is that we are not stopping shit from hitting the fan. The fan is covered in shit and still spraying it everywhere, and we need to try and get this under control now.
Yeah.
So if you all want to try and find patient zero, find the source of it, awesome. But I do not want to have. I can't right now, and I'm gonna run out of the room.
Well, We're probably right now. I am Lake. Me, Pepper, and Tassif are probably on our way to the residential as we're talking, because we're over the earpiece. If those two are okay with, well,
Oh wait, no, you said that we could coordinate with Harrison.
Yeah,
and
they can
everything.
just do it.
Yeah. So I think I'll run out dry heaving for just a bit, and then in my few cogent moments, try and coordinate that, and I'll go with the rest of the team.
So are you all converging on Brush Park from your two different angles?
Looks like it.
coming in then.
Sounds good.
Or would it be prudent to try and search up on the Ophelia character?
You were
I did say-
you were definitely told a few leads about her, that obviously she's part of the university. She hadn't been back to her rooms, and you were told which student halls of residence she was staying at. So there is
It's also an
potentially stuff to
APB
find
out
there.
for her.
Yeah,
So
and no one
there's-
has found her yet.
I think
The likelihood
Trevor,
of us finding her.
well, Trevor, out of a very selfish sense of self-preservation, of not getting eaten by giant worms, he is going to try and make an excuse to try and go to her dorm with the hope that she has an iPhone and being able to get her laptop to use the Find My iPhone feature, or a tablet or anything from her roommates, and see if I can use that to track her possible location.
I
Okay,
would
you
suggest
can
not
get
going
some-
by yourself.
I'll go
Well,
with you.
No. I'm very good at choosing low risk Well, I thought I was very good at choosing low risk occupations. So I will catch up with you all in a bit. But if we're
Okay.
talking about leads or rafts, as you called it, then sure, I'll admit I was wrong. Sorry, I didn't understand the full gravity of the situation here.
And if your lead becomes bigger, one of us can join you.
Oh, she is over in the Atchison building, which is on part of the main part of Wayne State University, which is not too far away from the hospital. So you can either, if you want to be arrive in style, you can get the helicopter to drop you over there really quick, or you can basically say, hey, look, CDC, Mr. Cop Car, drive me over there, be my personal chauffeur. So whether you want to go by air or land, it is your choice.
Oh, both of those are really cool. And I'm very tempted to YOLO. I'm going to do CDC helicopter. And they're like, okay, you could already get in. Like, it's okay. And so, yeah, I'm going to try to get there as quick as I can to get her location and, get her quarantined.
Helicopter is the best bet then. So yeah,
Hell
you can fly off solo, or rather with your pilot chauffeur, and everyone else. Then you're heading to Brush Park.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Brush Park is only like 3/4 of a mile to a mile away from you, so you'd probably arrive at fairly contemporaneously to each other. So for sake of ease, we'll do Trevor first. Getting to the dorms. So you land outside the dormitory building, much to the surprise of virtually everyone around. There are lots of gawkers. There are lots of people taking photos, wondering what the hell is a CDC helicopter landing outside our building for. And you are met by there is a police car that's outside the main building, which is, as was mentioned, that they are keeping an eye on her room to see if she comes back. So you are met by one of the beat officers there that you can radio ahead to say, hey, you're incoming. They will take you up to her room and state, yeah, we've been keeping an eye on this Ophelia Waters character. She hasn't been back. No one that's matched her description at all has shown up. He flicks through his notebook and says, from what we're told, she's in her early 20s. Last seen wearing pair of jeans, black leather biker jacket over a hoodie. She's got a nose ring, fairly short cropped purple hair, so kind of stands out a bit in a crowd. But yeah, no one's seen her, and she's definitely not been back here. And leads you up to the door to her room, which is shut.
Okay. At this point, can I just sort of gesture for them to open the door if it's not unlocked already? I assume this is a little more severe than a wellness check.
Yeah, they haven't specifically got kicked down the door and gone in, because it's not like they're saying, "Oh, I heard a scream. I better go in and find out what's happening."
Yeah. I think time is of the essence for this one. I would also just ask the company, like, does she have any roommates? Like, is she sounded like an undergrad, so assuming this is a dorm room and she would have a recommend or be placed with a roommate, I'll knock just to be polite.
She is solo. There's no one else in the room with her.
Oh, okay. So yes, I'll try and get the police officer to breach the door in some way.
Yep,
Checking through. Oh, go ahead.
Give me a luck roll.
Okay. 44 under 56. Good.
Yep, in which case he does the subtle method. He doesn't just bring up his boot and kick it down, which would attract attention from a lot of people on the floor. Instead, he actually goes to the equivalent of the superintendent for the building and gets the got a master key from him, and then opens the door up. So you're in within a matter of minutes.
I was really hoping he would kick down the door. Like, I've got that adrenaline pumping from the helicopter, so I'm like, yeah, let's get in there. Wait, where are you going? Okay,
but that adrenaline and hyper focus can come in handy to your benefit here. Give me a spot hidden roll as you go into the room.
Why do I feel like this is an important spot hidden roll? Hell yeah, that is an 5. That adrenaline is pumping. Extreme success.
Right, you definitely spot a few things in here that become at least start not ringing alarm bells, but more of a case of it's the neon sign pointing that says, this is important, this is important, this is important. Look into various parts of the room. It's definitely one person habitation, that it's only her that's in here. But there are signs that there is not always one person in here. There are male and female clothing here. So there's evidently she has a male visitor that comes to the room every so often. Otherwise, there's nothing that really stands out as being noticeable about the style of clothing. It's, again, mainly like fairly old, worn clothing, maybe sportswear. There's a pair of discarded jogging bottoms. There's a toothbrush that's in a little stand by the sink. But definitely there is a his and hers vibe to the possessions that are in here. You do notice then with an extreme also there is tucked away. You think it's the position in a point where if anyone just came in and did a casual look, they wouldn't think to look behind the desk. There is a bong down there. And there are other signs of other drug paraphernalia that are scattered throughout the room that are fairly badly hidden, including one sort of piece of, it's not like sealed, but it's wrapped up in what's what I'm looking for, like silver foil, and then has plastic shrink wrap around it that looks like it's a fairly crude, and from you being the pharmacologist, you would be the one that would know, looks like homemade marijuana that's been made into a like a brick, almost like it's compressed to the point where it's hashish. But it's very homemade, very rough. Yeah, this is not something that you would get from a drug dealer of quality out on the street. This is homemade shit that someone's made in their basement, kind of level of stuff.
Okay. And also, corner, just as another clarifying question, what's the quality of the clothes that are around? Especially thinking of the men's clothing, does it seem really worn out and kind of ratty?
Yes, it does. Kind of when you're thinking back to it, yeah, I've just seen about 100 people back at the shelter that would be wearing similar kind of stuff to this.
Yeah. So I'm 100% like, I'm going to ask the police officer, like, putting on latex gloves. I'm going to need all the evidence bags that you have. And I'm going to text the group. Looks like we've got something. I'm seeing a lot of homeless clothes in this room and a really shitty brick. Lots of drug stuff. I think she was having a lot of guests.
The marijuana, did you look at it?
Not yet. Like I'm texting just very much off of this initial impression to let them know, but I am still prioritizing trying to pin her down. So I want to try and search, like, while cataloging all of the apparent paraphernalia, I want to try and search if she has a laptop or an iPad or anything else. I can also roll a luck roll to see if she has an iPhone, but yeah, I want to find any other device, and if there are any photos of her around, try to hold it up to use that to do the face unlock, and then do find my iPhone to get a location for her.
Does it look like she's been having a lot of sex? Could this be an STD? Had a good time.
There is a bit of stank in here.
Yeah.
Now that you have actually called one of the things I was about to say is on the corner and then got cut off. You have preempted one of the things that I was going to give you. There is a photo in a small silver frame which is on the edge of the desk, which shows her as was described, biker jacket over hoodie, jeans, with arm around a guy that looks maybe about potentially up to 5 years older than she is, but still within that kind of acceptable age range. Looking very rough, looking like he's wearing a thick woolen long trench coat that would be great for wrapping around and keeping warm in the cold weather. And you can spot with your such keen eye the signposts for Stanley Street and Lorraine Street, which are on the intersection, which, with your local knowledge, that places it in the middle of a district called Northwest Goldberg, which is another really run-down part of the kind of a central area of Detroit, and renowned for being almost completely abandoned, and homeless are not thriving there, but there's a whole gold mine of places where you can hide out there.
Okay. I will 100% like take snap a photo of that and then circle it, sending it off to them and pointing out Stanley and Lorraine as a possible alternate location if they're heading to the one.
Yeah, the exact address for the house that they're still on the porch for, with that signpost in the background, is 5713 Lorraine Street. So it's a small 2-story abandoned residential property. Building dates back to 1900. So just over 100 years old, and very typical of all the wooden architecture around that part of town.
Okay. Then I'm also going to type bingo in all caps and then eat it, Tasso, and then send that out to the group chat.
The only other thing that you did also preempt is the fact that, yes, she does have an iPhone. It's in her desk drawer.
Oh, but not on her.
She'd not take it with her.
Well, finders keepers, evidence bag now. So yeah, I'll finish
maybe it's time
cataloging
for
the
a
rest of
peek,
this.
Trevor.
Oh yeah, I can do that too. Using the face unlock to see if we can scroll through it.
Yeah, you open it up and indeed start having flick through. There's only really a couple of different contacts that are listed in there. There's like the typical WhatsApp group. I'm pretty sure WhatsApp was still in use back in 2018.
Oh,
or
yeah.
messenger groups and such. That there's her talking about various different projects. It seems like she is a botany student, so she was probably in the same class as or one of Professor Hackett's classes. Talking with various other of her cohorts about different projects that they're working on. And one contact that comes up more than any others that isn't on any group chat is labeled as Chuck. And Chuck seems to be, a lot of the conversations are quite lewd. There's various things that Chuck says, like, without going into any other further details, like looking forward to eating you out tonight, gal, and such wonderful highbrow romantic lines as that.
Truly the Shakespeare of our time. Okay. So scrolling through all the rest of the ups through there, do I find any other messages in the like, does it just seem that Chuck just likes to fuck, or does it seem like they were doing some potential deals? Do I see mentions of grass or things? I feel like Michigan was already pot legal, so it's weird that she has this really shitty brick that's already like in her room like that. But trying to sift through in there and see if maybe Chuck was going to be like she was, what am I trying to say? She was Chuck's supplier, potentially.
There's, won't put it down to a roll, but if you're looking for certain keywords or phrases, you do notice there is one from Chuck that says, "Hey girl, sent you a message on the burner, haven't you? Why haven't you responded yet?" Implying that she has a second phone. And indeed, there is also another charger cable, which is not an iPhone charger, that's here. So evidently more dodgy communications are probably being taken on the burner phone rather than on the iPhone.
Okay.
But yeah, there is definitely, you're getting, and maybe there is a vibe that there is either a supplier dealer connection going on here for sure.
Okay. So I'll communicate that to the rest of the group and feel like I'm going to be preoccupied here just bagging everything else up. I really want to take a look at like analyzing some of the stuff that's in there to see if maybe that could be a potential vector, but we don't have time right now. I think Daniels is still just really stressing that like alligators in the sewers, that was a fairy tale. Now we have goddamn worms in the sewers. So he can't really get over that and is just going to focus there.
Gotcha. Right, it's about that time then, as you're tearing the room apart and bagging and tagging. That's when everyone else is going to be arriving at Brush Park. Here we go. So this is really much in the heart, or the center of Brush Park. Everything that is a black blob, that's a building that exists at this point. You've got, otherwise, the area between Edmund Place and Alfred Street, and then between John R. Street and Brush Street, that is just a huge pile of rubble, apart from the building on the corner, and then specifically buildings 287 and 295. Those buildings, for those of you with a good degree of local knowledge, they actually have a kind of nickname locally. They are known as the Mansard twins, due to their French-style mansard roofs and similar layout. They're red brick two-story buildings constructed in the 1890s, so they definitely fall within the time period that you're looking at, the buildings that would be well over 100 years old at this point. The windows are boarded up. There's brush growing all around the area. There's overgrown yards. Graffiti adorns most of the exterior walls. And even directly opposite those two buildings, there is, again, just large-scale debris and wasteland, with a couple of fences that have been set up at regular at intervals that lead into a huge construction yard on the other side of the road. And as you are going through the area, there's actually a man that steps out in holding a light, dressed in what seems to be a security guard's outfit, holding up his hand to get you to stop as he's waving you down.
Okay, see what he wants.
Hello.
Yeah, hey, folks. He kind of looks a little bit surprised seeing the array of folks that are here. You are not well, you don't look like people that have broken into storage huts here, but have you seen anyone acting suspicious around here?
Actually,
No.
we're looking
No,
for
but-
suspicious characters.
We are looking for suspicious.
So you're a security guard. This is your
Yeah.
your beat.
Yeah, he points back over to the construction yard. Yeah, I work over here, but
You've always worked here.
Oh, not always worked here, but work here tonight. But if someone's broken into one of our storage huts and has stolen a whole load of what looks to be some of our fuel supplies and flares. So I was wondering if someone was going to go on a bit of an arson spree.
Trying to stay warm, maybe.
Did you report it to the police?
Well, yeah, and then I promptly got a whole load of the lines are busy. Oh, your call is important to us, and yeah, it seems like there's a whole load of hell breaking out at the minute. That it seems like no one can take reports of a potential break-in and arson seriously. That they're all busy worrying about something else.
Daniels, did you send us that picture on our phone? You
Yes.
can show it to this guy and see if he's seen her.
Yeah, he takes a look, kind of goes, bit pretty, even if she is a bit young for my taste, but no, I haven't seen her.
Okay.
I did see another girl dressed up a hell of a lot more provocative than her, though, going, and he kind of gestures his head over towards, actually he points towards 287 Alfred Street.
Okay.
Well,
So
We're going to be sneaking around here looking for things, so don't
and you
freak out.
may notice a few other people arrive. I'd assume there would be the other team here because we obviously Daniel's asked for another team.
Yeah, and
Come a while ago, so.
your briefing was pretty much you would be the team that go and do the site examination.
Okay,
so it's pretty
so-
much you put through the call to the call for another team, and they turn back and say, "Yeah, it's you that's supposed to be doing this."
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
So I'm gonna share the information that, hey, we're with the CDC and here's our badges and information. So we're just gonna be in the area doing a wellness check.
CDC? Well, what?
Yeah,
There's been an incident that we're not able to discuss right now, but we're looking
do I?
for someone.
Well, you mean like the super flu or something, or?
No.
No, nothing like that.
Oh, phew. All right, okay. Well, thankfully, I'm not going to be going around breathing on anyone or anything like that. But I'll keep my distance from folks if there's something
just
happening around here.
keep your distance and maybe keep an eye on the shed that you said that was broken into. as
What'd you
well.
say was taken again?
There was a couple of jerry cans full of gas that were
Yes.
taken, and a box full of flares.
Do you know who that belongs to?
Well, yeah, the company they normally use it for like backups for basically fueling up the excavators.
So the construction company owns the storage shed with all the material. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they have insurance.
Oh yeah, I just don't want someone burning down any of our other parts of the construction site.
Well, that's
Hey,
why
as
you're the
you're-
guard.
As you're guarding around, do you go inside the buildings?
Only the construction site, not anything else around here.
Yeah, he's not paid to go inside these abandoned buildings.
More than my job's worth.
So we don't know what's in the abandoned buildings.
Probably homeless people.
Thank you. We'll be
Yep.
walking around. What if our girl has been growing her own brand of marijuana since she was a botanist, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but
somehow is
growing
what
marijuana is grow lights and dirt, not things to burn. I think it's people who want to be hot or warm.
but nobody goes into the buildings. What if she's now trying to destroy what she started because it's tainted or infected with
What-
something?
What do you
What
mean
if-
no one goes in the buildings? People go in the buildings. The homeless people need places to
What
shelter. There's
if-
35,000 homeless people in the
The
city.
homeless people aren't going to tell on somebody who's growing marijuana in the basement.
The homeless people are probably going to steal all the marijuana to sell.
What if
All right,
they're
that's just a
okay? We
thought.
know this stuff is mutagenic, right? What if later stage people's behavior gets changed? What if they want to get hot or stay hot for some reason? They would get things to help them stay warm. Maybe the people we're looking for in there trying to get very hot for some bizarre. I don't know why, but that's a possibility.
Well,
We should-
well, that is a possibility, and we also do know that a woman has entered 28 whatever or 287,
Yeah.
A prostitute, most likely.
but it's
Well,
still worth going into there.
Let's go check those two out. Yeah. Matt, just because we know that the light is an issue for these things, I would have suggested we all grab good, decent officer flashlights that go
Yeah.
put out a nice amount of, and everyone got one.
I'll give
The-
you
the
one of
kind of-
those heavy flashlights.
Yeah, Heavy, here you go.
The mag
I
lights.
would
The
also
kind of mag light
suggest
that
that.
can.
Go on. No, go.
I was going to say the kind of mag light where you could shine a light to the moon with. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. I would suggest we all suit up like some kind of containment of some kind, no matter what. If you don't want to be in hazmat suits or whatever, that's fine. But
Well, we're at these apartment. Where are we going to need hazmat suits?
well, we should still have some with us. I would like to have thought that me and Tessa
Commando.
probably
Commando
Could be
doctor.
walking around like the
car.
Michelin Man.
Well, we
Walking
came in a
around.
vehicle. We came in a vehicle, didn't we? So
I'm
you know.
gonna go. I'm gonna go with whoever's gonna join me into one of the abandoned buildings.
Well, we should look for loose boards that they probably apply
Yeah.
in clothes to get in and out.
you've got the two that are side by side. I said they're the twins, as they're known.
Mhm.
There's 287, which is on the, as you're looking at them from the front, that's on the left, and 295, which is on the right.
Which one
Um,
did
you
you
can
say
s-
the woman went in?
287.
The one on the left.
Do that one first.
That's the one we should look in.
287 first.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
if you look at the front, you can see through the various boards, as Dr. Porter said. Yeah, boards have been pried away from the front door. Even that and someone has just literally brazenly gone in through the front door, and you can see that presumably what was maybe a lounge on the ground floor. You can see the flickering of flame, not like, hey, the room's on fire, but more likely that someone's got an oil can in there and is set round the burning thing, kind of warming their hands up, that kind of contained flame, but you can still see flame in there.
To be our
DDC.
guys.
Go in.
Right. Yep.
I'll go first if no one else is going first. I'll go in first.
Okay, you push open the door, and is everyone going to the same building? You're not splitting up, or
I think we're going to stay together till.
Yeah. You
safe.
still have your fire axe, Dr. Gatt?
Yeah, I put
You're
it in
just
my
carrying
pocket,
around
but I
a
pulled it
s-
back out.
Yeah, and a fire extinguisher.
Well, say that I have masked up and I've got gloves on.
Gotcha.
Just
and
to,
off.
I have PPE and I carry around a pocket knife. It's Detroit.
Pocket knife versus axe. I wonder who's going to win. But
and I've got my bright floral shirt on.
That'll keep you safe.
hey, it's a good fashion statement, hey? Yeah. Perfect Christmas attire.
It is. Exactly.
And meanwhile, a couple of miles away, Trevor is desperately anxious, wishing the party to split and cover more ground that way.
Exactly. It's more efficient, you hear whispered over your earpieces that don't have that far of a range.
We're all scared.
Yes, we're all
That's why I
terrified.
split to go to the safest
We're
place.
really close because we're scared.
But you can head inside, not a problem, as the door is cautiously pushed aside. You can hear various noises from inside, some of them happier than others. You can hear there's probably 2 or 3 people. There's definitely multiple voices downstairs, so on the ground floor where they're presumably huddled around that oil can, warming themselves up. There is 3 men talking. And then there are sounds of a man and presumably a woman having a very good time upstairs, to the point where you can hear floorboards and maybe not bed springs creaking, but definitely there is someone's going at it with a fair degree of effort upstairs. So they're definitely keeping warm in other ways. But yeah, there's as the door opens, these 3 voices that are talking downstairs. You hear one of them going, "Shh, hang on, I thought I heard the front door. So someone out there." And then a couple of coughs. And a few figures kind of shuffle into view coming in from the lounge.
Anthony?
And there are
Tim?
Hello.
Anthony?
There's confused looks between them. No one here by that name.
Okay.
You looking for someone?
Okay. Yeah, we're just looking for a couple of people who we think might be hurt, and this was last what we might assume is their last known location. So
no one here by that name, and no one here. I mean,
you guys aren't friends of Ralph? Look to see if they have any recognition on their face. Abel? No?
No.
What about Grace?
They don't seem to know.
Gracie?
Ophelia?
Gracie. Again, there's a whole load of shaking heads and getting confused. I think you've really
Chuck?
got the house
You
here,
guys
but-
know Chuck?
Who?
Okay, don't worry about it. You guys are...
This is a waste of time.
No, hang on. Have you guys noticed anything strange?
Strange in
Yeah, illness. Anyone been more sick than usual?
Oh, they really look a bit kind of no. I mean, God, Joey has got a bit of a, and he coughs promptly at that point. But it's just the stuff that goes round at this time of year, and it's cold. I mean, shit happens.
Right.
But we want to wrap up warm and get meds where we can. But no one is sick.
Okay, we just gonna have a look around if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll leave you alone afterwards.
Yeah, you guys can stay here. Don't worry about it. We're not chasing you out.
Yeah, we're just going to go over here, and they kind of move as one. Kind of, just a couple of them kind of keep their hands in their pockets as if they're getting ready to be near some concealed knife or weapon in their pocket.
Yeah.
But they very cautiously back towards the burning oil can to keep warm over there. And there's kind of some suspicious or furtive glances between them, going, "What are these people just coming in here? What are asking questions about? Well, you heard of some Tim or Anthony? Oh, no fucking idea." No.
What is it they're burning? Just what we'd normally expect, not like the stuff that was stolen.
Yeah, it looks like they've been breaking apart parts of the interior of the house. You can see there's kind of spindles of the staircase going up that they've ripped out. Some of the wooden beams across the ceiling that have then been put into the can, along with the small amounts of accelerant they've got in there, like newspaper and other such. Right. But there's no sign or smell of anything like gas that's being used here. No.
We know there's 2 more people at least 2 more people upstairs, so I'm heading up that way.
Okay. It's not difficult to find them. They are not exactly hiding where they are.
I'm not going to interrupt you. I'm just having a look around. Having a look around.
Give me a spot hidden roll.
Oh, 35 out of 50.
Roll me a d6.
A 6.
Okay. You hit the mother lode then. Right. So heading upstairs, you see that evidently there is one room that once upon a time was a bedroom before the bed has been torn apart, and presumably the other the wood that formed the frame has long since been burnt, very much like downstairs. But there is a mattress which is on the floor where clothes have been not exactly thrown away because it's freezing in here if you haven't got many layers on. But there are certain layers which have been discarded and put to one side. There's a man or woman of both of African American descent, which are engaged quite athletically, shall we say, on the bed.
Yes.
The woman on top, she's still fairly clothed. She's wearing like fishnet stockings, a black bodysuit that's kind of rolled up, kind of covers her arms and all the way up to her neck. She's got long, presumably what maybe is a wig that's on rather than it being a natural hair, because it looks a little bit too shiny and a little bit too neat for it to be kept in that condition if she's also out on the streets. But yeah, she is having a good old time on him, while the other fella is also still wearing what seems to be t-shirt, and his pants are wrapped round his ankles. They don't even notice you as you're there. But as you're looking around, you catch a kind of sniff. It's almost like a smell hidden in this case, that you catch whiff of. Evidently someone has used the toilet up here, and because the water system doesn't flush, it's still in the bowl. And there are 6 little things crawling up the bowl from the inside.
Yeah. I over the at least 2 of you come up here. We're definitely going to have to interrupt these 2 up here. We've got a situation.
All right. And sex could be a vector. You're right. Up we go.
I don't even want to think about
I don't think it's that. I think that whenever people use the toilet, that's when the worms infect people.
Well, we should still talk to those 2 people up there because everyone here is a possible contaminant now.
Someone definitely needs to keep an eye on the 3 downstairs.
Yeah, I'll actually just stand outside.
Okay, yeah, Logan can stand out there. It's cold, but you're getting a good view to make sure that those 3 are still staying put. They're kind of keeping a nervous eye on you as you're keeping an eye on them, and then everyone else is heading upstairs.
Yep.
All right. Yep. You head on up there, and they're just going to continue at it until someone interrupts them.
Oh, for God's sakes!
Whoever wants to it.
At which point there's a what the hell? And the lady in particular turns around with a kind of indignant look on her face. So I told you, wait your turn. Hang on a minute. Who the hell are you?
I'm gonna not at full power, but I'm gonna shine the light on her just to see if we can see those symptoms or anything on her face.
She kind of recoils away from the light, and yeah, there is actually a kind of yellowish tinge to her skin.
And she's covering her arms.
Light. Well, her arms are covered by the outfit she's wearing. Yeah.
Miss, we're going to have a little talk with you.
Why? I mean, are you with the cops?
No.
Worse.
You might be infected with a horrible disease.
Hang on, what?
What's the guy laying down to us?
Yeah, the guy rolled luck if he was using a rubber.
Yeah, I mean, the guy on the ground is kind of a wide open. What, infected? What do you mean infected? What? And he kind of wipes away his mouth, and there is this kind of sheen that comes away, as if he's got maybe some like slobber over him that he kind of wipes away and wipes on the mattress beneath him.
We need to call for containment.
I guess we could.
Oh God. Yeah, she actually kind of looks over her shoulder a couple of times at that, and then looks back towards you. Yeah, give me a psychology roll.
I won't roll because I am mainly
I'll,
keeping an eye on
I
the
will
worms.
put I will put some points into psychology. That's fine. Here we go.
I
Where's psychology
passed.
at? Oh, did
I
you
put
make it already?
40. Yeah,
Okay,
I
all right.
passed. I put
All right.
40 in psychology. I passed.
Go ahead. What did you find out?
Any passes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pepper.
Yep. Gotcha. You are fairly sure that she is distracted, almost as if that she's listening to something or someone talking to her that isn't there. The way she is reacting is like she hears something over her shoulder and she is turning to look at whatever's speaking to her.
I'm going to look at the other people and just be like, I think she might have some schizophrenia or something.
If we shine the light past her, is there anything past her?
Nothing there.
Miss, for your own safety, we're going to have to take you in to get looked at. Otherwise, you might die.
Her eyes immediately open wide and she looks over her shoulder again, and just this look of terror comes over her face as she talks to thin air. There is literally nothing there. Just says, no, you can't do that. You promised. And then looks back towards you and says, no, just walk away. This doesn't concern you. Just please, just walk away.
Passive, we need containment and police here.
I'll start calling 911.
And
It's not our job to wrestle people to the ground.
We'll descend into initiative because she is about to bolt. So let's have a look at her stats.
We can't let her escape.
Also, it might be 2 hours before the 911 bothers to send anybody to this neighborhood.
Throw the bucket at her.
The worm situation.
Right. Does anyone beat Dex of 65?
I've got an 80, but I'm outside. So if she's actually
60.
coming outside,
60.
I might
I got
be able to stop
I
her.
got 60.
Yep, 60.
60.
Okay.
So
So that was a good moment for tension because my internet connection just suddenly froze. So hopefully it doesn't die on me. Right. So has anyone got? I see an 80 in the chat. So anyone beat anyone 80 or better?
I think
Right.
Logan might be.
Which is Logan downstairs. Your spidey sense kicks in as you realise that something is about to happen downstairs. Or upstairs rather. You hear a tense movement. Maybe there's a shifting of the floorboards, and the immediate impression that someone upstairs is kind of on the verge of bolting. You think something's about to happen. What do you do?
I'm going to stand outside of the door, which is the only obvious escape, and I will prepare to trip them.
Good plan. All right. We'll work down in increments. So 75, 70.
I think we're all at 60.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So anyone equal on 65?
Nope.
no,
Right, in
we're
which case-
60.
It's going to be her then that goes next. So she is going to attempt a dex roll to basically launch herself down the stairs and try and get out of the building. Aside from she could have jumped out of a window, but that's a bit more self-harming. Is going to try and launch down the stairs, taking the stairs about 2 or 3 at a time, and trying to force momentum out through the front door directly towards Logan. So 26 is a pass. So that's going to be a hard for her. She, like a gazelle, she leaps maybe a bit too quick for maybe how she looks as someone of her build. Let's have a luck roll from all of you upstairs to see if you are potentially close enough to try and do something about this.
I got 32.
Yeah, I also passed.
Yep, passed.
I passed it exactly.
Right, all 4 of you then, as you said, you were coming up the stairs anyway, and then pretty much in the doorway, she is having to get past all of you. So if any of you want to, this won't count as an action, but more as like a reaction to what she's doing, can engage in a fighting brawl roll to see if you can potentially either block her path or grab hold of her as she goes past.
I'm jumping out of the way and going, biologist.
I'll add a 50 into my brawl as I used to play some sports in my heyday. Even though he's not that old, but Okay. Oh, shit.
No.
81 out of 50 is not going to cut it, and I'm not spending that much luck.
I'm gonna crank up the light on the light and just blast her right in the eyes, so she gets dazzled.
Okay. That's,
Chazzy.
Like no one wants to touch her, huh?
No.
All right, give her the old razzle dazzle.
There's indeed that moment where she gets light briefly in her eyes, which she does recoil away from. But otherwise, unless anyone's sounds like no one's successfully intercepting her, she is heading straight down those stairs. So, Logan, as you're you can count this as almost like a held action as you want to try and trip her up. If you want to give me an opposed dex roll to see whether you actually do send her flying or not.
Yeah, with pleasure. Is a 16, which is an extreme.
Why can't this be Mothership and 000 actually be a good thing?
Oh, what the hell does that even mean?
It means that Matt fumbled.
Yeah. I will let you roll this. You can roll me because it's hard concrete outside.
Oh.
Give me a D6.
All right. 4.
Okay, add 1 for the fact that she got a fumble. She goes flying. She goes face first into the concrete. You hear a nose crack. Blood splatters all over the pavement. Probably you hear probably her arm hits the floor at a very oblique angle as well. Yeah, there's bones that crack, and she winces in pain. And because she's not wearing that much, she's just wearing this kind of figure-hugging bodysuit. When she hits the ground, yeah, something writhes underneath, around her midsection, almost as if it's coiled around her middle.
Don't like that. That's a sand roll, probably.
Yeah, you can give me a roll.
70, I failed.
Okay, we'll say 1 for the minute because you're not seeing the true horror of what's in there. You're just seeing elements that something is there.
I'll be like, "What the hell is that?" And you'll hear me shout.
We've got a whole load of people on 60. Considering that she is face planted down on the ground, I'm going to say that you lot can get down there and apprehend her without any difficulty.
I would say
that
someone stays with the man because
I'm going to inspect the man because I want to see what crawled down his throat.
I will go down.
We're going to wrap her in some big thing to keep her covered. I don't know what, some blanket or something.
Plenty of blankets, like thermal blankets that you can get. So as Dr. Pepper's inside, then examining this poor guy, yeah, I mean, look, he's kind of muttering like, well, infected. I mean, well, she seemed all right. I mean, she came in here offering us like free sex just for a place to sleep and keep warm for the night, and then she got all real tongue like, and he's got almost like trying to scrape this stuff out of his mouth, and yeah, amongst all this spittle and this saliva that he's pulling out, yeah, there are these very small, almost rice-like sized little things crawling around in the viscous material here.
Can I pump his stomach?
That sounds like a very good idea. And yeah, you start pumping, and as you'd have to go downstairs to the van to get the equipment to do that. But yeah, as he's vomiting up, there's more of this stuff that seems like it's been literally down his throat in the middle of the act that he was engaged with. Meanwhile, as you're wrapping up this lady outside, she's looking at you, trying to hold her face together, hold her nose. Just let me go, please. Please, just let me go.
That's your best chance is with us.
You
now.
don't.
And you need to tell us what's going on.
If you have any hope, it's with us.
She just shakes her head and her hands fall away from her broken face. And there's just this look of complete and utter despair that crosses her face. And she just says, "There's no hope anymore. It can't be caught." And she starts to convulse. And there's this disgusting ripping sound as her stomach explodes outwards. and this thing that's about 6 to 8 inches across erupts from her stomach and opens like a flower with these 4 petals going in either direction, and it just screamed this high-pitched scream that echoes down this empty street, or what used to be a street, with this building site on the other side. And we will leave it there for tonight.
Thank goodness you had her in the moving blankets. It just helped minimize all the
Explosion. Yep, it got worse. It talks to you too.
Our players included Max Meltzer, Josh Harwood, Troy Lehman, Lex Hurley, Alex Sun, and myself, with Matthew Sanderson as the keeper of arcane lore. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members, you can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Spotify, Podbean, or iTunes. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 to a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Thom Raley, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.